3, 2, 1, and we are live. Welcome once again to HeroQuest fans. We're back. Just had to grab something to drink there. Just get a little bit of water. Cheers, Dead Gamer. So some of you are recovering from PulseCon. We kind of knew ahead of time that they weren't really going to talk about HeroQuest, and sure enough, I skimmed through, whatever you want to call it. Didn't see any mentions of HeroQuest. They did talk about HeroScape extensively. Of course, the big reveal for us was that... just turn this off here. The big reveal, of course, was that Chris Nato, a.k.a. and Carmine, a.k.a. etc., you know, all the different names, he revealed that there is a new expansion coming. So not just the Mage of the Mirror, but also a Night expansion. We're calling it a Night expansion because there's no official title yet that we've heard, but it does feature prominently a knight-looking figure on the cover art, along with the other heroes fighting some elves, orcs, evil knights, something like that, ghosts. Nobody really knows for sure. Anyway, I had a great, fun interview with Covert Nerd. He was interviewing me. Sometime I'd like to interview him. Yeah, Lee over at Covert Nerd podcast. Go check him out, covertnerd.net. Cool guy, had a lot of fun. Anyway, that was early this morning, so we are here and ready to do some HeroQuest. But we just need some heroes. It's kind of always how it goes. So we had one person in chat. Looks like we lost that person. So we're probably going to have to wait a little bit. That's okay, because I got stuff to talk about. So let me just grab what I was doing here, listening to our awesome royalty-free music. So yeah, we've been playing the Frosted Path in the Frozen Horror, making our way through, and we've got openings for 4 heroes. Of course, previously we did have the Barbarian, the Knight, the Alchemist/Wizard, but I mean, we've also had a Dwarf and an Elf that could come into play. There's 2 mercenaries in the quest, also the Swordsman and the Halberdier. Of course, as you know, as we play, those who are in the chat, in the Twitch chat, because we're live on Twitch, not on YouTube, those people can use their gold coins. So if you go to where it says send a message, right below there you'll see a purple and orange like gold treasure symbol. You can click on that and use your channel points, your gold coins, to purchase potions for the heroes. You can purchase cards for the bad guys as well. It's pretty fun, so you can interact. Now those, of course, who are controlling heroes in the actual game, you know, will not be able to purchase hero items. But that's how we play. That's how we roll. Alright, so just as a little bonus, what are we looking at here? So from the Covert Nerd, we talked about some great stuff, you know, just what our thoughts are on HeroQuest so far. So you'll definitely want to check that out. I think he'll have it posted in about a week, he said, on covertnerd.net. But there were some other things, you know, we talked about, well, what would we like to see coming up, and what do you think will actually happen? So I've said before, like I have said before, that I guess I'm a little tired. But yeah, I said before that what I'd like to see is all the legacy stuff remade, because it seems like they've got a pretty good handle on how things go, and they're not trying to like ruin anything. You know, there have been some controversial creative decisions they've made, but not that controversial. For the most part, they've preserved the mechanics of the original game from the 80s and 90s. Yes, the North American version. But the game is pretty much intact. So it's really just a question of aesthetics, or maybe they substitute a word here or there. They did modify the body points of the ogre in the upcoming ElfQuest pack, but other than that, we don't know what else has changed. Now, we have seen their creative work, their original material. Now, you can say, well, Stephen Baker was on the original team, and he wrote Prophecy of Telor from the Mythic tier, which only a small portion of the fandom actually has owned and has had a chance to play. Then you got Spirit Queen's Torment, and you got Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. That's 37 new quests right there. Plus, you had several free quests that were written. So Stephen Baker did Rogar's Hall. Then you had Forsaken Tunnels of Zorzel. You had New Beginnings and Into the Northlands, all by Doug Hopkins. So it'll be interesting to see what this new pack, like who writes for it. And I do cover that in a recent video that you can catch on YouTube. So yeah, we've got our multi-camera set up. I hope you enjoy it. Just trying to get everything lined up. Trying to get it so that you can see pretty much every corner of the board at any given time, and we don't have to adjust it quite so much. Oop. I think we might have a... Okay, those cameras are good. That one's good. This one's good. That one's good. Okay. So we got all our cameras, and we can see pretty much any corner of the board that we want at any given time. So now all we just need are some heroes. So hopefully they'll be coming along. I'm trying to think. I think PulseCon, it was a 2-day affair, and they just got done like earlier today. So in day 2 they covered Heroescape, which it looks like Heroescape is going to be a pledge drive, similar to what HeroQuest did. Like, I didn't know that. I thought they were just going to bring it out, but apparently they still have to test the waters. They're having stretch goals and all that stuff, similar to what the HeroQuest community got in 2022 or 2020. Sorry, have to go back in time. So 2020 we had the pledge drive, and that ended. And let's see, it was a full, I think it was a full year later, in November of 2021, that we actually got the product. The Mythic and Heroic tiers started being shipped out. Some people got them in December or January, but it was definitely finished by November. And then I want to say it was December of 2021 that the retail version came out. And I think it sold out very quickly, so a lot of people didn't get it till January. But now they have the newer retail version, which has the box that's smaller and has less wasted space. It's easier to open. It's easier to take the plastic miniatures out of those plastic candy trays, those vacuum-formed PVC or whatever they are, PET or whatever they are. You know, that it was like really tough. Like you were just popping them out of there, and people got broken ones. So there have been some comments that the build quality is a little bit better, just a little bit better. Some of the dice look a little bit nicer. So people have a nicer product now. And the question is always, what about those mythic materials? Are they ever going to come out? Should they ever come out for the general public in retail? My opinion has always been, I hope that they do go out to the public. I mean, other than Prophecy of Telor, I don't think there's anything that's really essential that I really wish that everybody got. Now, I was stumping for the male elf because I thought, okay, the male elf is the classic elf. Of course, they made the female and male elf very similar to one another. I mean, you have to look very closely to notice the differences because they have the same outfit, same pose, and everything. Now, they are giving us a new, really cool-looking male elf in the remake of Mage of the Mirror next year, in the spring, 2023. So that's cool. So I kind of don't mind that that's the way that's going. But at the same time, it would have been cool for some of those other figures, and especially the quest packs. I think a lot of people were upset that the dragon, Joe Manganiello's dragon, and his Crypt of Perpetual Darkness wasn't a retail product, that it was all just in the Mythic tier. So it remains to be seen what, if any, of that stuff comes to public. I think they will. Over time, they will find a way to release most or all that stuff. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it will harm the collector value of any of the stuff people got in the pledge drive. I think they are striving to please as many fans as possible. And I think that's probably the best strategy. I'm not sure how many HeroQuest fans there are out there in the world, but I imagine it's in the millions. It's not just, 25,000 people that maybe bought some form of the pledge, version of the game. So it'd be interesting to see what the sales figures actually are, if those are public. I don't know what they are. Maybe someone out there can do the research. But as far as board games go, it seems like it's been a success, and the fact that they're announcing new stuff makes me think that it's doing well. Otherwise, they wouldn't invest any more time or resources or money into it. And I get the impression, even though Hasbro is a gigantic company, multinational, multi-billion-dollar company, I mean, if HeroQuest went away, Hasbro would survive just fine. I mean, they've done just fine without HeroQuest. But at the same time, the Avalon Hill subsidiary, division, whatever you want to call it, brand within Hasbro, like, they have limited manpower, and they probably have a limited budget and all that sort of thing. So they can't necessarily be working on HeroQuest 24/7. And if they're doing HeroScape, like if they have the same artists or the same design team, like working on both, like I can understand if they, go back and forth with those things. And I can also understand if HeroScape is more profitable, they're going to focus on that more. That makes sense too, from a business standpoint. But at the same time, they're trying to tell us, hey, they're trying to send the message, hey, don't worry, we haven't forgotten about you. We're still making stuff. That's the message I get anyway. So I don't know what this new pack will contain, because we haven't really been given anything else other than the assurance that it's brand new and that cover art that they obviously wanted us to see. I can imagine it coming out a year from now, probably, because that's kind of how it was with the Frozen Horror. Like, a year went by and then all of a sudden people were saying, oh, it looks like they've given me a ship date. It's coming out. And that was the other news about the Rogue Heir of Elathorn. People in Australia have gotten it now. Like, at least 2 people from Australia have posted photos of, like, everything. So they have it all now, and I'm sure other people will be getting it soon as well. So you may not have to wait till December 1st to get it, and that's cool. So that'll have to tide people over until spring. But maybe the Mage of the Mirror will come out sooner too. Just have to see. So it's pretty quiet here now. But yeah, we just had a flurry of activity there in the world of HeroQuest. So we're just kind of chill now. Just checking my notes here. So I certainly don't want to spoil anything for the Covert Nerd episode that he's doing. If anybody isn't familiar with covertnerd.net, I mean, he started out, his first episode, I believe, was talking about HeroQuest. Just kind of that nostalgia, fandom, memories of the past and how you see things today. But he covers all kinds of things, science fiction, comics, card games, cartoons, movies, books, all kinds of stuff. So I've enjoyed his show, and not just because he's had me on a few times, but yeah, it's a good time. He's a friendly guy, and so if you're in the community, I'm sure he wouldn't mind talking to you. You should let him know that you're interested in doing an episode with him, and I'm sure he'd take you up on it. So, yeah, so the things we talked about, I mean, we just kind of talked about then and now. To be honest with you, I still haven't seen HeroQuest on a store shelf. Like, since the remake came out, I haven't seen any stores actually carrying it like that. Now, I have heard that some of these stores, including the Australian ones, they did store pickup. So people actually had, like, price stickers on their games and everything. So I guess you order the game and then the store has it ready to go. And if you decide not to pick it up and you just abandon it, then they can sell it to somebody else, I guess. But actually having it just like next to the other retail products is something I'd like to see. I'm still waiting for that to happen. Of course, just because it's not that way in my area doesn't mean it isn't that way in every country in the world. Apparently there have been local game shops where people have said, oh yeah, it's on the store shelves and you can just pick it up. You don't have to pre-order it or anything. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about quest creation. That's kind of an interesting thing because I haven't made that many of my own quests. But what are the sorts of things that you'd want to do? I mean, I think one of the best pieces of advice is, yeah, think about how much time it's going to take. Play test it. Get some feedback on your quest that you're writing. You definitely want to balance fun and challenge. Come up with a little story. Try to think of the things that you enjoy doing, or maybe that your audience is going to enjoy doing in the quest. Tailor it to the players. Try to surprise them. I think one thing that was really a good strength of the original game system was gimmicks. So you go through a quest, and every quest has its own gimmick. Something that makes it unique, kind of surprising, kind of fun. So maybe it's some magical darkness that you got to navigate through. Maybe it's a special type of monster that you haven't faced before. Maybe there's some like magical structure to the quest, or maybe there's multiple objectives you have to complete. Just something to make it a little bit interesting. Maybe a little bits of story, little bits of dialogue that come up as you play. There's all kinds of ways you can spice it up. So find your gimmick, whatever that is. If you're going to do a series, try to tie the quest together. One way is to have a recurring villain, or maybe some type of development for your hero or heroes. That's the other thing. If you're designing it for a single hero versus a group of heroes, obviously that takes some things into account. One little trick is to count up the body points of all the monsters that you've got in the quest. Think about this. The Trial, the first quest for the North American game system, which a lot of people consider very hard, like a lot of parties get killed on that first one. Not just because they're inexperienced, but because it is rather tough. It has like 37 monster body points. Now, that's not the only measure of difficulty, but 37, and that's considered a hard quest. Not the hardest, but you think about a quest that has like 50 monster body points, or like 60, 70, 80, 90. Now you're talking multi-hour quests. Because if you have like 80 monster body points, that's going to take you at least 2 hours to get through for 4 heroes. Now you might suggest, okay, they can hire mercenaries. Well, it's going to take even longer. Also consider the more things that each player is controlling, the longer it's going to take, because they're going to have to decide, make their decision, and then move on to the next person, if you don't mind long turns. So you want a shorter quest, you want fewer monsters. The other thing is gold. With the gold, you're going to consider, okay, if there's 4 heroes, you're going to have to divide that up. And then also consider, if you don't put any notes in a room, then that room is going to be like a card room. Each person draws a treasure card when they search, so 4 searches per room. But if you put a note there, the first hero who searches for treasure finds X, okay, that gets rid of one of your card searches. In a typical quest, I mean, you're going to go through the whole deck and find all the treasures, and that's fine, but you just have to account for it. Now the question is, do you want to load your heroes up with equipment too quickly, or do you want to load them up quickly so that they can be maxed out and survive the challenges? But how do you keep it interesting? There's those questions. So I made a 3-part series of dwarf solo quests, imagining that I was creating something for like a dwarf quest pack. And this was even before Luca Pasci revealed the details of the Lost dwarf quest pack. But I did 3 episodes, tied it together with a little story. Thought it'd be kind of fun. Anyway, I'll say more about that on the interview. But you can also look at other quests other people have created. So there's a lot of sites out there that have them. Yield In, of course, is one. HeroQuest Adventures, I think it's HeroQuestAdventures.com, I think has a bunch of quests as well. And you can just look at them, and some of those you might say, yeah, these were probably written by little kids, and maybe they need some work. And I don't mind that. I mean, you design a quest when you're a little kid, you don't necessarily expect it to stand the test of time, but it is a cute little glimpse back into the past. But if you're designing a quest now for other grown-ups to play, you got to consider their patience level and their attention span and that. So as far as like homebrew stuff out there, everybody's got their own tastes. I'm really impressed with people who turn HeroQuest into a completely different game, which is kind of funny to say because I like kind of the pure gameplay of HeroQuest, the simplicity of it and the story. And yes, I do add things to it, but I kind of keep the base game intact, and I just add my own stuff on top, sprinkle it on top, rather than just revising all the rules. Now, I have been a little bit more creative with the Frozen Horror so far, just because it seems a little impossible without changes. But I still have gone back to the designer notes to try to see, like, where were they in the design process. Maybe they zigged when they should have zagged. Maybe they should have continued on down a certain road and they didn't. They pulled back too soon. So some of those things I based on, like, what were their intentions at a certain point. I kind of grabbed some of that and kind of take a greatest hits version of that. But some of the fans out there have just really created some awesome stuff. Like, think about all those 3D dungeons. Like, I don't want to build a 3D dungeon. I think it takes too much work. I don't have the space for it. I don't have the patience for it. I don't think it's necessary. And then you got the problem of, well, what do you do? Because you're constantly rearranging the map. And if you build like big, thick walls and big doors, well, you're going to have to knock them down for the next quest when it's a different arrangement. So some people have come up with different ways, interlocking plates, but just some amazing stuff exists out there, with like LED lights and like just everything just looks like actual stone and just really cool furniture like integrated into it. I got to give those people credit for their artistry and their build quality. Like, I'm not a sculptor. I took a lot of art classes when I was in school, but I never took anything in sculpting. I kind of wish I had. Maybe I'd be better about that sort of thing, but sculpting miniatures is definitely a special skill versus like sculpting like something larger. Of course, nowadays you can 3D print stuff, so if you do 3D modeling, I did do some 3D modeling. I guess I take that back. I did that. That's a form of sculpture. But you can cheat a lot more on a computer with those sorts of things versus actually making it something that's going to hold up structurally. But a lot of people have shown that, you don't have to use like, cement and ceramics and stuff. You can just use foam and paint it, and it on camera, it's going to look pretty realistic if you paint it right. So I'm impressed with those types of projects, and especially if you can actually put it into something that's playable, that you'd want to play, have your family over and play it. So more power to you if you can do that. And certainly some of the stuff like Jacer has done, like just getting Battle Masters and HeroQuest and just having just a massive like campaign, playing it out in real time. Certainly that's a major undertaking and pretty awesome. I was really impressed with the Japanese translation project, which several people undertook, and then Hispazargon is like the latest person to do it. And he's even working on a Spanish translation of the Japanese game system, so into Spanish. And there's another person, David Dupont, I think is his name, and he's doing a French translation. So, and I think there's a German translation as well out there. Somebody has done. Sorry, I forget who is working on that one, but yeah, so there's several of these. So again, something that maybe would have been rather obscure in the world of HeroQuest outside of the home country is getting like made more accessible to more people. And I think that's awesome. That's great. And maybe one person abandons a project, but somebody else picks it up, dusts it off, brings it to the next level. You can also say tabletop simulators come a long way. I used to badmouth the program because it just didn't work well for me in Windows 7, but it's been updated a few more times and seems a lot more stable. And of course, Tabletop Simulator is just kind of a shell program that simulates, just like it says, a tabletop. And you can put all these game mechanics onto it, tiles, cards, dice. And they just added, various people have added mods that simulate the various HeroQuest things. So they would have had to take, the 3D models, which other people created probably to 3D print stuff. So they have all the models, and then they simulated, painted versions of the models, and then the dice and the different types of dice, different cards, and every time something new comes out, somebody will kind of tweak it and update it so that you can simulate those pieces on a 3D board. And I guess the real gimmick is you can play it in VR, but I don't have any virtual reality set up. Like, I can't even strap a phone to my face. There's just no way for me to do it. So I'm just clicking around on the screen. And yeah, with my newer computer, it looks a little bit better. It processes a little bit faster. But the overall game, I mean, it doesn't save any time when you're playing, because even once you learn the interface, which takes a little bit to learn, it takes about the same amount. So I guess I'm just kind of a slow player, and that's all right. And plus, we do the interactive thing here on Twitch, on HeroQuest fans on Twitch. So I'm always waiting for the chat to like give me feedback. I'm waiting for the screen to catch up. There's all these other things, all these other factors that slow the game down, which I don't mind because we're still having a good time. But if you're watching on the replay, you're probably got it on double speed, and that's all right too. So other things. Hey, Jacer J. I've just been talking away, just wait for people to come. So let me welcome you. Are you going to be playing with us tonight, Jacer? We haven't actually started the quest because nobody's actually volunteered yet. Yeah, Jacer, if you want to jump into Quest Talk on HeroQuest fans, that'd be cool. Or if you're just lurking tonight, just let me know. But yeah, I've just been talking about just some of the things that we were talking about on the Covert Nerd podcast, and just some other things that I was just kind of thinking about. Because he had all these questions for me, and I was just kind of typing out my answers, thinking like, oh, well, what do I think about that now? Just kind of reminiscing on the game. Like if I had to pick a favorite hero and monster, what would it be? That sort of thing. I think back in the day I would have said the Chaos Warrior was my favorite, just because it was just a really cool looking monster. Like, oh man, these guys look tough. They're going to get you. You know, whenever you were Zargon, you put those out on the board. I think today I've come more to appreciate the Orc. Like the unsung hero, anti-hero of the HeroQuest world. You know, they got that big grin, and I've adopted that as kind of my logo or mascot for HeroQuest fans. He just looks like he's just so happy to be there to do some killing and fighting. So it's just great. The enthusiastic bad guy who gets to be the evil cannon fodder. As far as the favorite hero, I'd probably say the elf, just because you get kind of the best of both worlds, the magic and combat. But there's fun aspects of each of the four heroes. You know, the dwarf has some strength to him, and being able to take out those traps easier than anybody else is great. The barbarian is kind of, as Bardic Broadcast famously quipped, you know, he's like the easy mode. But I mean, he's really powerful, and so he can kind of lead the charge. The wizard takes some more finesse. I mean, a lot of people play the wizard conservatively, as another YouTuber commented. There's a tendency to hang back, save your spells for the boss, or when somebody's about to die. But there's other ways to play the wizard, especially as you build up better equipment over time, better artifacts, and so you're not quite so vulnerable. And people have created mods to make the wizard a little bit more independent, because one hero doesn't necessarily have to carry the day. I mean, yes, the barbarian can do so for a while, but eventually he's going to run out of body points or mind points, and then he's sunk. I haven't played as much with the other heroes, other than the Guardian Knights. I mean, you've gotten to see them in action, and they're pretty competent. And we've done a little bit with the Bard. Of course, we renamed him the Orc Pirate. Basically had the same abilities. He was kind of fun, kind of interesting as a support character. But we haven't really done anything with the Druid or the Warlock. And of course the Rogue Heir, I mean, now all of his stuff is out there. You know, you can easily playtest him. That'd be an interesting thing to do. But I haven't made up any cards for him or anything yet. So, Haven't heard anything from Jacer. I guess maybe we're going to have a quiet night tonight. But the night is still young. We do have the block of time from 6 to 10. Once in a while this happens. You know, we'll do a stream and just people are busy doing other things. So, up for some questing tonight. I know that the Strange Bus, he did almost an all-night stream last night, and his goal was to do all Star Wars video games, which is very ambitious. But he got through quite a few. He was doing all kinds of neat stuff. So he did Atari 2600, NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Sega 32X. I think he might have done some Game Boy Advance. And PlayStation. But yeah, it's like there's so much more to do. Like I didn't realize there's a whole bunch of Star Wars DS games. And he couldn't get the ZX Spectrum or the ZX Spectrum working. That one's a little trickier, a little more obscure. Of course, there's N64, Sega CD, PC. Of course, some of those games, they're multi-platform, so you kind of just pick the best one. Arcade games, there was a lot of arcade games, all the way up to Star Wars Battle Pod. It's like, good luck with that. I mean, maybe modern computers could handle it. I don't know. Who's got, you know, a $35,000 Battle Pod in their room to plug into? Actually, I think there's a shopping mall in my area that has an arcade that has Battle Pod. It's not the super expensive version, like with the hydraulics, but I mean, it has like that domed screen in the rear projection. I mean, it's really cool. But as a game, like I kind of prefer Star Wars Trilogy Arcade. I think that one had more variety. Because I feel like with Battle Pod, I mean, the fights are really short. I think the coolest part of it was there's a level where you take control of Darth Vader and you're like in the wreckage of the Death Star trying to shoot the rebel pilots down, and that was kind of original. But I mean, the Battle of Hoth was really disappointing because they just have you fighting TIE fighters again. And it's like, didn't I just do that in all the other scenarios too? It's like I'm always fighting TIE fighters. It's kind of boring. Hey, Eudoxio. All right, so we've got 2 people now. That's odd. It's not showing me all. See, this keeps happening. I'll go to Twitch, and it won't show me all the people that are here. So let's just see. How many in chat right now? It's like, are some people like hidden? Let me just check the creator dashboard here. But yeah, welcome to HeroQuest fans. Okay, this is 3 viewers. I'm sure one of those is a bot, and then we got 2 others. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Okay, so yeah, we got Eudoxio, we got Jacer. So nobody's really said anything about what if they want to play tonight. But I mean, I've got a quest waiting, so if anybody wants to dive in, we're playing the Frozen Horror Quest 6, Frosted Path. I just got to make sure that my quest book isn't showing on any of my screens. But yeah, we've got our 4 cameras set up. So yeah, PulseCon's over and no new HeroQuest news, which is kind of what we expected. But we know there's a new expansion. So there's two new expansions to look forward to in the next year or so. And the Rogue Heir of Elthorn will probably be out before we know it. So anybody up for playing a hero tonight? Try not to shake the whole table. I don't think Strange Bus is starting his second part of his Star Wars all-game stream until 9 p.m. So you guys got plenty of time if you're worried about missing his. Just enjoying the music. So we got Jacer and Eudoxio. Potentially, that's 2 heroes. I mean, I could read a game book, but oh, somebody got my attention there. Falco's TMB. Hey, thanks for following. Well, but the question is, where is everybody coming from? I look at my screen and I can't see everybody. Unless there's another delay. Okay, well, if you're here, I'm not trying to ignore you. It's just I can't see everybody in the list. But what I'm asking, working the rogues. Yeah, I mean, we have images of all that stuff that the rogues are doing, the rogue skills and everything. I took screenshots. Well, I didn't take the screenshots. Other people did. So the guys from Australia, there was at least 2 people on Facebook. They posted screenshots of everything. And then a couple people from the inn linked those. And a couple people in HeroQuest fans were talking about them, so I grabbed the downloads that they linked, posted those up, and so we've got them all here. We could just look at them again, just kind of while we're waiting for people to play, because I'd like to play some HeroQuest tonight, but if nobody's really up for it, that's okay. We can just kind of do something else. Let me see. But yeah, it's funny, every time somebody follows, it's like, whoa! So we get to hear Ric Flair going nuts. It's great. I love it. Yeah, I appreciate the support. Okay, so let's add in. No, that's not what we want to do. Sorry, folks. I'm just going to add in a little viewing window. Okay, here's what we need. Okay, so let's resize this a little bit. Get rid of those little ad pictures. Okay, so this is a bigger picture. And again, I take no credit for this because other people took these awesome close-ups, extreme close-ups. So we were all kind of wondering, well, what's this bandolier thing that the Rogue Heir has? How does it actually work? So it's 300 gold coins. Now we're assuming that that means that's the purchase value. So if he loses it, well, how would he ever lose it? Because some people were speculating, oh, it can't be stolen because it's his weapon. But I'm taking it as we're treating it as a toolkit. So it's an item. It's a piece of equipment. So it could be stolen off of his body by an ice gremlin, if you're playing the Frozen Horror. And if he dies, he could leave it behind and some other hero could claim it. But it can only be used by the rogue. So he can disarm traps just like having a toolkit. That's helpful. And you're considered to be armed with a dagger. So alright, That makes sense too. So that means he doesn't necessarily need to have an actual dagger for it to work. He just needs to have the bandolier. But if he loses the bandolier, now he's limited to what equipment he actually has, if that makes sense. So that's how I'm interpreting it. Okay, so then we've got the dagger. Same as the regular dagger, 25 gold coins. It's just the artwork is just different. That's the only other difference. Okay, so we had the bandolier. We already looked at that one. Dagger. Opportunistic striker. Okay, let me just drag this one over. So for this one, okay, so once per turn, you may throw 1 extra combat die when attacking a monster next to another hero. Do not discard after use. So that's something that people picked up on early on, is the skills for this Rogaire of Elathorn hero are like passive permanent abilities. Now it doesn't say that this requires the bandolier, interestingly enough. I kind of assumed originally that, oh, the bandolier grants you these skills, kind of like the knight had to have a shield for 2 out of his 3 skills to work. If he lost the shield, then it wouldn't work. Of course, you can't have a shield as you're using stolen. But in one case, like PSK was controlling a knight, and he wanted to give up a shield in favor of a stronger weapon, so then he lost 2 of his abilities. So to compensate, we gave him some random skill cards instead. But you can throw... Throwing is the same as rolling, of course. 1 extra combat die when attacking a monster next to another hero. So that implies you're not playing by yourself, of course. You could interpret hero to be like a mercenary, if you hired a mercenary. But it doesn't say what weapon it is either. So any weapon you're using, 1 extra combat die when you're attacking a monster who's next to another hero. It doesn't say adjacent, just says next to. So there's a little bit of room for interpretation by Zargon there, but it's pretty clear what they were intending. So that's a good thing. So in those close-up battles, I mean, they show the rogue throwing knives, but wouldn't have to be. 1 extra combat die. So I guess if you were doing like a 3 dice attack, it'd be 4. It's not an extra attack, it's an extra die. Alright, combat mobility. This one was a big deal when it was revealed. You may move unseen through spaces occupied by monsters. Do not discard after use. So this is the same verbiage that's used for the Dust of Disappearance and for the Veil of Mist spell. So it's like you have a permanent Veil of Mist spell on you, in the sense that you can just walk through any monster space. Now when we get to against the Ogre Horde, does that mean you can pass through ogres or not? I guess it depends on if you decide that Veil of Mist and Dust of Disappearance can let you pass through them. And if so, then you would have to say this probably too. He just kind of sneaks past them. He ducks through their legs. Something like that. Some type, or maybe it's some type of stealth ability, but it's something inherent to the character. Do not discard after use, so it's permanent. So that's actually a really good thing for the character. You're never going to be trapped. You're never going to be cornered if you don't want to be. So that's combat mobility. And then ambidextrous. So for this one, let's see. Once per turn, when you attack with a short sword or dagger. So there's another use for these two. It's kind of the 2 weakest weapons that people kind of like get rid of as soon as they get rid of as soon as they possibly can, just because it's like, I'd rather have a longsword or a battle axe or a crossbow. You may, when you attack with a short sword or a dagger, you may make 1 additional attack with the dagger. So you could do a 2 attack and then a 1 attack. Doesn't say it has to be the same target. Now, the whole question of multiple attacks against 1 target, I think the discussion's been going back and forth with the Avalon Hill people, that what they intended was that one of those 2 attacks, if they're both against the same target, is unblockable. So the heroes actually have more opportunities than the monsters do to do multiple attacks. Because you've got Heroic Brew, you've got, is it the Potion of Battle Rage or Icy Strength? I always forget which one. But there's one of them that gives you 2 attacks. Oh no, it's the Potion of Speed for the ElfQuest pack. It gives you 2 attacks. Let me look here. Check the Alchemist shop. Yeah, because there's an elf potion that gives you 2 attacks. You know, the Potion of Battle Rage, I was right. Okay, for the Barbarian, it's the Potion of Battle Rage. You get 2 attacks per turn as long as there's monsters in sight. So there's that. There's the Elven Potion of Speed. And then the Heroic Brew in the game system. And there's the Orc's Bane, if you're attacking an Orc twice. And then for the monsters, it's the Polar Warbear, who gets the 2 attacks. So if you decide to go with their interpretation of the rules, which is that, yeah, the victim gets to decide which of the 2 attacks they defend against, but the other one doesn't get defended against, then it's pretty powerful. Now, a 1-die attack with a dagger isn't that strong. But you could imagine that these abilities stack. So, let me just check the chat, make sure I'm not missing. Yeah, I'm not missing anything. Okay. Yeah, these could stack. So let's say you've got an enemy who is next to one of your allies. That's an extra die, okay? And you've got this, Ambidextrous, which you're not discarding after use. It's constantly in play. So this is another attack. So when you throw the dagger at him, or strike him with the dagger, I guess, it's actually going to be a 2-dice attack. So it's 2 and then 2. So see that? So if you play your cards right, pun intended, you can actually do some pretty good damage. Now, at the same time, 2 dice later on in the game is not that big a deal because you're dealing with just really powerful monsters. So you're still going to want to collect potions. You're still going to want to have spells cast on you or collect spell scrolls, you know, to modify, enhance, buff your character. But starting out, these are some pretty good abilities. And now seeing them with clarity and not having to guess what it means as much, because this is the final version, seems like a pretty interesting character to play with. What else do we have here? I think that's all the skill cards. And there, of course, is just the character card. Now, as with some of the Mythic tier ones, it says movement, 2 red dice, starting weapon, dagger. But then there's no starting armor. It doesn't say starting armor. Now, the Bandolier is not armor. It's just equipment, just like a toolkit. But 1 attack die, that makes sense because he starts with a dagger, he or she, because you got the 2 versions. 2 defend dice, which is standard. 5 body points, so 1 more than the wizard, 1 less than the elf. So he's not going to get killed right away, but still on the weaker side. A solo quest with this character would be a little bit difficult because he has no healing. 4 mind points, which is pretty respectable. I think that's the same as the elf. Yeah, same as the elf. So pretty decent magic resistance. And then this was what probably the one that I was most interested in, is the back of the hero card. So it's like if there's any other details about the character, it's going to be here. So you are the rogue, a nimble skirmisher who is deadly with small blades, but you lack the ability to use metal armor, okay, that's key, and shields. Well, I would assume that means metal armor and or shields. And then several of us have debated in the past, what is metal armor? Are we talking about everything? But the fact that they differentiate metal armor and shields makes me think, as before, that when they say metal armor, they mean chainmail, plate mail armor, and variations of it. So like the Elven chainmail would count. The cold iron plate would count. Borin's armor would count. None of those can be worn by this character. And you can't use shields, so there's only 1 shield, but I guess, well, the spiked shield from Into the Northlands couldn't be used either. So yeah, variations of shields and metal armor. So that means bracers, which are not metal, could be used. Now there's no cloak of protection in this version of the game, unless you homebrew it in there. Doesn't say he can use the wizard's cloak, so normally that's only the wizard and the warlock, because the warlock gets to use wizard equipment and artifacts. So yeah, so for armor you'd be limited to bracers, so no shield. So you're limited to 3 for your armor. 3 combat dice for defense. Equipped with your trusty bandolier, you are always prepared for danger. So that implies to me that you're always equipped with it. But if you want to believe that he doesn't start with it and has to buy it, like save up 300 gold and then he can buy it, I mean, he'd be really weak without it, when you think about it. Because yes, he still has all of his abilities, but he only has 1 dagger, so he can't throw the dagger. He's just going to have to run up to people and poke them with the dagger. Which, really, you attack with 1 combat die anyway, whether you have a weapon or not. Same as unarmed combat in the North American rules, which are the basis for the remake rules anyway. So if you're equipped with your trusty bandolier, you're always prepared for danger. So, anyway. Interesting stuff there. And then, of course, we've seen this. We've talked about this. This is an enhanced, and this is Eudoxio's enhanced one, I think. Yeah. Of the cover. And I still don't have any more guesses about what we're supposed to be seeing here, other than the heroes, a knight, maybe some kind of evil knight. I can't tell if that's supposed to be like an evil elf, or is that a good elf? It looks like they're swinging, like one is swinging towards the back of the other, so they may be fighting each other. Of course, the barbarian also looks like he's about to clobber the elf there. And there's some kind of genie, green-skinned, pointed-eared looking character in the background, kind of ghostly figures in the background. We debated whether this is sort of some kind of like mermaid or spider, centaur looking character. These look like orcs or elves. So endless speculation until we know, once we know the title, that would maybe give us a clue. But since it's not a specific remake of like any specific past legacy product, it could be anything. It literally could be anything. I mean, when they told you the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness title and told you it'd be featuring a dragon, could you have predicted what would be in it? No. You just had to guess, until you actually saw it. Prophecy of Telor, we didn't know. Spirit Queen's Torment, we didn't know. So, as they leak more details, then we'll know what's actually there. So yeah, this has turned into kind of just a discussion, but that's all right. So we've got Falco's STMB. Now I can see you. Thank you for following. Yeah, normally on a Saturday we play Hero Quest, but it seems like people are kind of busy tonight, so nobody's jumped in yet to do any playing. But as you can see in the upper left corner there, we do have our heroes. So we've got the barbarian here. He's in this corner. And he's been fighting with these monsters that we've discovered. So there is an evil swordsman, and that skull tile is just there for clarity's sake. So that evil swordsman has lost 1 body point. The other skull that you see there is showing that the good guy swordsman, mercenary, has lost 1 body point. And I just spilled some water there. All right, sorry. Let me just take a moment to clean that up. But yeah, you've got a halberdier, a knight, and then the wizard, and then these 3 guys here. These 2 have taken damage. So I'll be right back.
His name is Chauncey!
Alright, and we're back. Yeah, I hate spilling stuff. Good thing it was water, though. Nothing like spilling sticky pop all over your floor. Okay. Alright, so Falcos, are you going to be playing with us tonight? I think right now we're kind of looking for heroes. Oh yeah, and next Thursday, so we skipped the Rantcast this Thursday. So next Thursday we're going to be doing the Rantcast with the Strange Bus. So that should be fun. Now we have some things to rant about. I still haven't seen all the Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings episodes. And from what I can tell, I'm not missing much. But yeah, I guess the 6th episode just came out. I've seen the first one. That's it. And Star Wars Andor, like people are saying different things about it, but it kind of looks like, again, not missing much, really. Like, I remember the days when I'd really get excited for a new, like, installment of a franchise. I mean, case in point, Hero Quest. Like, I'm, like, over the moon that another expansion's coming out. But some franchises have kind of worn out their welcome. Kind of left some of us fans feeling burned. Like, not that excited anymore. And that's too bad when something like that is mismanaged. And you could say, yeah, they're still making billions of dollars. But when they lose the goodwill of that many fans, I mean, they're just, I'm sure they're bleeding money, really. It's kind of like if you got a comedy show, and yeah, comedy is hard, but it's like, if your comedy show just isn't funny, but you're just, you know, you're the producer of the show, or whoever's in charge of the money, and you're just like, you know, hell-bent on keeping the show on the air no matter what. Just like keep it going forever. It's like, okay, well, I guess you're bound to determine, but is it ever going to get better? No, it's never going to get better unless you either find that audience that actually appreciates your product, or you start doing things differently. You know, whatever you're doing, if it's not working, stop doing it and start doing something else. So, it's kind of like on this stream. I mean, what we've been doing has been working. But if it stops working, we'll just have to do something else. But yeah. So, people in the chat, what are your thoughts tonight? What do you want to do? I mean, I could get out one of my game books and start reading that. Of course, I'd be making the choices, and I guess you'd just be following along. I know, once again, there's nothing wrong with lurking. There's nothing wrong with joining a stream and just kind of listening. You don't have to participate. We're a smaller stream, so we can't necessarily get people going all the time. But I'm wide open as far as that goes. Let's see what we got here. We could try Wizards, Warriors, and you again. Alright, so even though we're saying Hero Quest is the title here, I'm just going to read a little bit of a game book while we're waiting for people to decide what they want to do. Hope you don't mind. Maybe we'll pick up some Hero Quest next time. So this is Wizards, Warriors, and You, Book 2, A Siege of the Dragon Riders. I was reading this before. And I think last time we've been playing as the warrior. I think this time I'm going to just pick the wizard. And so now with the wizard, instead of picking from the Book of Weapons, you're supposed to pick from the Book of Spells here in the back. And so you get all the magic. You got to use it wisely. So he's got Shift Shape. Does that have Shape Shift? Shape Shift. Move Time Back, Momentary Darkness, Invisibility, Invisible Shield, Mirror Image, Sorcerer's Sleep, The Wind, Merlin's Fire, that's a cool name, Visions, Shrink, and Combat Magic. So when you pick that role in this book, I was going to say the computer, but the book takes the other role. So the other guy is still with you no matter what. So it's you and the warrior. So we start on page 20. So the dragon riders come in. It's the harvest time in the kingdom. Good King Henry. And the dragon riders come in and they just destroy all the crops, or most of the crops. And so everybody's afraid. And so the king is like, okay, we're going to starve this winter. You got to go stop the dragon riders, stop the reign of terror. So you head out and you basically make a decision that you're going to try to find Jabara, who is this dragon, this old dragon, and try to figure out, I guess the creature is intelligent, figure out what the strategy of these dragon riders is going to be, how to defeat them, possibly. So we start on page 26. Jabara, the ancient dragon, has not left his cave in more than 100 years. The wise old creature lives in a hill of dark caves, connected by even darker tunnels, a labyrinth of safety, for few have dared to enter these caves. Even fewer have come out again. You are willing to risk a confrontation with the dragon because you are certain Jabara will be able to guide you to the dragon riders, but to confront Jabara, you must first find him. As you approach the hill of Jabara's labyrinth, you see that there are 4 caves. You must guess which cave will lead you to Jabara. At the entrance of Cave 1, you see that what appears to be a large serpent acting as guard. Cave 2 appears to be empty, but of course, you cannot know if it is truly empty without entering. Cave 3 also appears to be empty. Cave 4 seems to have some sort of white covering draped over the entranceway. Is this because Jabara is inside? Which cave do you choose? So there's Cave 1, 2, 3, and 4. So Cave 1 would be option 1 with the large serpent. Oh, we got an ad going. That's all right. Hey, Ribby. Welcome, Ribby. Let's see. Oh, bedtime for Falcos. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. Next time should be more action. Just caught us on a quiet night. Ribby was the one who did the John Cena. Nice. So Ribby, do you want to play some HeroQuest tonight? I was just reading Wizards, Warriors, and You because it's been pretty quiet. Nobody's really been stirring, so we don't really have any heroes yet for tonight. Jacer hasn't been talking. I assume he's just lurking too, which is cool. Yep. So I've just been reading this book here. So I think in the past we've chosen Cave 4 and it's led to some battles, and I think I'm just going to pick a different one this time. So if anybody has any suggestions, you can vote in the chat with your gold coins. Only takes 1 gold coin. Vote for option 1, 2, 3, or 4. But personally, I think I'm just going to pick one here. It's pretty quiet. So I think maybe one of the empty caves. Let's just pick Cave 2. Let's try Cave 2. It's going to be process of elimination anyway. I kind of hate guessing in these games. I like it if it's logical, but of course it depends on the author. Okay, so Cave 2. You and the wizard enter the second cave slowly, pausing just inside the entrance to allow your eyes to adjust to the dim light. At first you see nothing in this dark chamber. Then you begin to make out shapes of things. A pile of dried bones in the center of the floor. Dozens of fanged bats hanging upside down from the ceiling. What is that large object on the far wall? The wizard asks, his voice echoing off the stone walls of the cave. What is that large object on the far wall? It's not a very good echo, but... You both stare and both realize at the same time the massive unmoving object against the wall is none other than Jabara. Jabara, we have found you, you cry out loudly. Wait a second. I picked the wizard, and yet it's talking as if I'm the warrior. I just realized that. Let me double check something here. Sorry, folks. Just checking. Oh, okay. I did start on the wrong page. Yeah, so let's just forget the adventure at the cave. Well, okay. You know what? We've already started. Let's just continue on. So I'm the warrior. Sorry, guys. I'm the warrior. So yeah, the weapons I picked last time. See, I thought it said page 20. Okay. Yeah, so instead of all that magic, as the warrior, I've got the Sword of the Golden Lion. That's my first weapon. And I get 3 others. So I picked the triple crossbow, the longbow with poison-tipped arrows, the double-pointed mace. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3 other weapons. Oh. So actually, longbow, triple crossbow. Yeah, so instead of the double-pointed mace, let's go with the battle axe. So the battle axe, the longbow with poison-tipped arrows, and the triple crossbow, plus the Sword of the Golden Lion, 4 weapons. Okay, that's good. Because that's important later on. Alright. So back to the cave battle. Okay, so you find Jabara. Well, it's not a battle per se. The massive unmoving object against the wall is none other than Jabara. Jabara, we have found you, you cry out loudly, attempting to show the ancient dragon that you have no fear. The dragon does not move. Its wrinkled tail is wrapped tightly around its sagging yellow body. Cracked, wart-covered eyelids hide its eyes. Jabara, you yell again. Jabara, we have come to talk to you. One eye opens. The creature is alive. The creature hears you. See, I was starting to wonder. It's like, well, maybe it's just dead. It's mummified. It's like that. This quest is over quickly. Both eyes open. The head swings around slowly on its long, withered neck. Your nostrils fill with the stench of decay. Jabara opens its dry, cracked lips and struggles to speak, but nothing comes out of its mouth but air. Warrior, the dragon finally managed to say in a voice that whistles like the wind through a window crack. Warrior, he repeats. Have you brought this wizard for my dinner? The wizard takes a step back and looks at you in horror. With what teeth could you chew such a morsel? You ask boldly. I would not need to chew a meal so small, Jabara wheezes, trying to laugh at his joke. But the laughter turns to violent coughing. Go away, warrior. Let an old dragon sleep, Jabara says finally, turning his head away from you. Sleep when I am gone, you say, raising your sword. I need information from you. The dragon turns to face you once more. Do you threaten me with that sword? Will you give me cause to use it, you ask, summoning all your courage before this still mighty creature. You will not leave this cave alive, the dragon says, starting to pull his massive body up to stand up and face you from his full and awesome height. Can you talk your way out of this one, or will you have to fight the old dragon? Some shades of The Hobbit here. Page 52. I only wish to speak with you, you call up to Jabara. I only wish to speak with you. You must tell us how to find the dragons and the dragon riders who wish to destroy our kingdom. The dragon now towers above you, its old head swaying up and down on its long yellowed neck, its decayed teeth cracked and crumbling its snarling mouth. I do not wish to use it. I do not wish it, Jabara says, forcing the words out one at a time. But I am old and not in the mood to argue. I will tell you what you wish to know. I am grateful, you start to say. After you entertain me, he calls out a signal. You hear loud scratching sounds. You turn to see 2 gigantic spiders come scampering into the cave. He, the old dragon starts to laugh, then breaks into another long round of hideous coughing. Spider dragons, you cry, realizing that these giant spiders have the heads of dragons and the deadly teeth as well. It will take only 3 bites from my spider dragons, Jabara says, his eyes coming to life for the first time, and your body will dissolve, and I will drink you up, and for dessert, I'll have your wizard companion over there. He. All right. The spider dragon's legs scrape and scratch across the cave floor as they race towards you. You raise the sword of the golden lion and begin to swing it in wide circles. You must kill both spider dragons. Then perhaps Jabara will speak to you. All right. Thanks, Strange Bud. Thanks, Strange Bus. Gifted a tier 1 sub to Ribby. Awesome. Very nice of you. No, that's cool. It's been kind of a quiet evening. I wasn't sure who was going to show up. You know, it's always kind of a gamble. But we haven't really started any quests yet. We've just been kind of waiting. So I sent you a bunch of links, I know, for your Star Wars stream. I was amazed how many games you covered, but I know you're planning to do some more tonight, so Godspeed, sir. It's more than I could do. And, you know, trying to figure out all the technical stuff from all the different systems, all those old retro games. Nice. Yeah, so I'm just reading this game book here while I wait for people. I mean, maybe we'll just end up just doing this tonight. It was a book I had fun. I mean, it was a series I had fun reading when I was a kid. Might revisit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's all these hacks people have made for various Star Wars games, like to make them easier in a lot of cases, because a lot of those games are really hard, or fix bugs, or translate. So anyway, so we're about to do a fight with these spider dragons. So we went to Jabara's cave looking for clues about the psychology of these dragon riders that are destroying the kingdom. Okay, so flip a coin. Each time it comes up heads, you have killed a spider dragon. Each time it comes up tails, you've been bitten by a spider dragon. To survive, you must get 2 heads before you get 3 tails. Okay. Flip a coin each time it comes up heads. Okay, well, instead of doing a coin, I was just going to roll a die. So let's get one of my D&D dice out here. And I figured what I could do was just say, if I remember where I put it. Or I could just roll one of my regular dice. Doesn't have to be a fancy game die. Actually, you know what? I think I'll just do the coin just for fun. All right, so we've got to roll heads twice before we get tails 3 times. Okay. So just to keep me honest here, no tricks. All nightmare. Yeah. Okay. So there's our coin. So as you can see, just what is this? 10 pence coin. All right. So the right way to do it is you flip it. It spins up. You catch it, and you do that. Okay. But you always start with heads. So. Okay, I suck. All right. Okay, I guess there just isn't enough room to do this right. Or I'm too tired. All right, so we got heads for the first one. Okay, so that's a kill. All right, do another one. Okay, that's another kill. Oh, well, I guess we don't have to do it anymore. Okay. Anyway, that wasn't as exciting as I expected. I guess when you're a kid and you're just, you know, sitting out on the front porch and you got lots of room and you got a stack of pennies in your pocket, you just start flipping those, or quarters. Quarters are usually my preference. Nice big quarter. And, you know, you drop it on the floor a couple of times, but that's part of the fun. So, oh, there's my die. I was there the whole time. Oh, whoops. Yeah. So there's the die. I was gonna do like odds and evens. That's another way you could do it. Or like 1 through 3 is heads and 4 through 6 is tails. Okay, so we killed the 2 spider dragons, and let's see, you managed to get 2 heads and kill both spiders before you're bitten 3 times. Yeah, because the tail is a bite, head is a hit. Turn to page 28. Of course, as kids, you know, like you could, you know, keep yourself honest and like keep doing it until you did it right, or close the book, start over, or just say, yeah, I won. But I mean, flipping coins is fun, so yeah, something to do. A shudder runs down the ancient dragon's body. Jabara closes his eyes and shakes his head slowly. He stands still now, as still as death. I have entertained you, Jabara, have I not? Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? I've entertained you and I have killed your soldiers here, you shout, pointing at the corpses of the spider dragons. Silence from the old dragon. Now you must give me the information I request, you cry, pointing the sword of the golden lion at the giant dragon. Silence. Jabara appears to be in a trance. Or is it just asleep? A fit of violent coughing arouses the dragon. One eye opens, then the other, and his face contorts into a hideous frown. You have invaded my home and committed murder, the raspy voice of Jabara cries out. I entered your home and was attacked, you argue, standing your ground. I will not stay here any longer than I need to. Keep your bargain, old one. Keep your bargain, and tell my companion and me where we might find the foes we seek. Jabara coughs, then slowly nods in agreement. I live in two worlds, he tells you quietly. Your world and the world of Twilight Evil. I will tell you two tales. One contains the information you seek. One is a tale not of your time or place. I cannot tell you which tale to believe. That you must decide for yourselves. Tell us your tales, Jabara, you insist impatiently. To hear Jabara's tales, turn to 44. So there's the picture of the old dragon. Alright, just checking the chat here. Hey, PSK is here. Welcome. Yeah, so we've got enough people for HeroQuest, but so far nobody has volunteered. I think people are kind of busy tonight, but if anybody wants to play HeroQuest, I've got slots open. So just putting that call out there. Now if people are just wanting to lurk tonight, that's cool too. I was just going to, rather than control the heroes all myself, against myself, I'm just reading this game book here, Siege of the Dragon Riders. Because we kind of got into it last time and we kept getting killed, so it's like, okay, we're going to try some new tactics. Finally, we're getting somewhere. So Jabara the old dragon is telling us some tales. Here are the tales Jabara tells. One of them tells the truth. It will lead you and the wizard to the dragon riders you seek. The other one is full of lies and will lead you far from your destination. Alright, so I might need your help on this one. The first tale. In the hills of Welknor, where the red rains fall, the powerful dragons must heed the call of a magical flute that only they hear, a music your kingdom will soon learn to fear. That's the first tale. The second tale. High on a mountain stands the castle of Kral, defended and hidden by a 1,000-foot wall. Inside a force of 10,000 men prepare the dragons to attack once again. You must decide which tale to believe. So the first tale about the magical flute. See, that sounds so familiar. But the problem is, I don't remember from my childhood what the proper... Yeah, no questers tonight. I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, story time's fun too. I should come up with like a custom logo for that, because people are gonna come expecting HeroQuest, and it's like, what's going on? So let me just change it here, just so I don't confuse the terms of service. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I understand the appeal. You know, you're doing something else, you're waiting around, and you can just hear a story. Okay, so we got these two tales. But see, I feel like I've read this book before, like when I was a kid, because that magical flute sounds really familiar. Then again, there's like legends and stories that have magical flutes, so the writer could be playing upon that common lore to trick you. I mean, the 1,000-foot wall sounds like it would be logical, because you've got these flying dragons that these knights, these black knights, ride. They fly over the wall. 10,000 of them sounds about right. They attack again. The hills of Welknor. See, I don't know the world, this fictional world, well enough to be able to tell you which is which. So I guess we're just going to take a guess. Magical flute that only they hear. A music your kingdom will soon learn to fear. I mean, the magical flute might explain how they control the dragons. Because when the attack first happened, everybody was like surprised. It's like, well, how could they have trained all these dragons? How to train your dragon, right? So my guess is the first one. But I mean, it's a 50% chance. I could be wrong. My memory could be faulty of it. So, if anybody has any objections, I'm going to go with the first tale and guess that that one's correct. If it's wrong, then I guess it's the other one. Process of elimination. It was Colonel Mustard in the study with the candlestick. Alright. Spoilers. Alright. The journey to Walknor is long and hard. Your weary horses make their way through the tangled forest without paths, and over a rock-hewn plain that cuts their hooves and bruises their legs. The journey ends in another forest. Jabara's tale told of hills, but this land is flat, the wizard says to you. Uh-oh. What is that hill up ahead, you cry, seeing something strange in a small clearing. Your horses carry you close enough to see what it is. It is a hill, all right, a hill of bones, you cry. Yeah, I'm the warrior in this story. Perhaps it is some sort of burial hill, the wizard suggests, climbing down from his horse to take a closer look. No, it is our dining room, shouts a thunderous voice from the trees beyond the clearing. Welcome, dinner. An orange dragon rumbles out from behind a tree, a hideous grin across its drooling mouth. Another dragon steps out, another follows, and then another. But soon you realize that you are seeing not 4 dragons, but one. They are all attached at the tail. The dragon of 4 bodies, you cry, recognizing this legendary beast. The dragon uses its 4 bodies to form a wall around you and the wizard. Jabara has sent me a tasty lunch this time, the dragon says, its drooling running down all 4 of its hungry mouths. You are surrounded by the flesh of the dragon's 4 bodies, 4 hungry heads closing in on you. I will attempt to spell, the wizard cries, pulling his robes around him. I will shrink the dragon down until it is the size of a dog. Then we can make our escape. He begins to chant the words of the ancient spell. Will it work? All right. The wizard calls out the words of the ancient spell. He pulls back his robes and nothing. The spell has not worked. Your adversary is still huge. 4 dragon heads laugh uproariously. I was created by a wizard, all 4 heads say at once. No wizard's spells can work on me. You realize it is time to fight. You draw the sword of the golden lion. One huge dragon head swoops down and grabs it from your hand. What? You must try your luck with another of the weapons you chose to carry on your quest. If you brought with you the battle axe, okay, that's 1. Okay, so if you brought along the battle axe, you have only a 1 in 4 chance of victory. But even with such poor odds, you must fight. If you brought along the triple crossbow, which I did, you have a slightly better chance of victory. Oh, okay. If not chosen to bring these along, well, you died. Alright, well, let's go with the better chance, because I did bring the triple crossbow. Page 14. Yeah, if we die here, and people still don't want to play, I'll switch books. I'm not saying you don't want to play because you're a spoil sport or anything. It's just that, yeah, sometimes we catch people on a bad night. They're busy with other stuff. I understand. Also, you may notice I'm using the classic pieces instead of the remake pieces tonight. It's a lot quicker setting up with these than it is with the remake. Because with the remake, you gotta pop the stuff out of the candy trays, and you gotta pull the lid off, and it takes extra time. And you gotta put it all away. Clean up your toys, kids. Okay. The dragon heads move in for their dinner. You reach for one of your bows. You have only a few seconds to kill all 4 bodies. Perhaps your skill as an archer and a little luck will lead you to victory against this foe. Using either the triple crossbow or the longbow with poison-tipped arrows, You have only 50% chance of victory. Pick a number between 1 and 10. Oh, man. Alright, so rather than me just picking a number, I'm just going to roll a die here. So we'll just take our D6. Oh, no, we can't. It needs to be 10. What am I saying? We've got a D10 in here somewhere. See? Comes through in a pinch. Okay, that's a D8. You can tell I'm not a regular D&D player. Okay, there's a D10. So this is 1 through 9, but we're going to count 0 as 10. Alright, so we'll just roll the die. 50% chance, they said. 5. Okay, let's see if we won, or if we died. Oh, your luck has run out. The hungry beast has ignored your arrows and is about to enjoy a tasty dinner of wizard and warrior. Close the book quickly before you are forced to read a more colorful description of what is about to happen to you. Ha! Alright, well, I followed the rules. Closing the book. Ah, look at you. What are you saying, Strange Bus? That I'm not taking it lying down? No, I'm excited for your stream. I just wish I could stay up for it. If I didn't have to get up early, I'd just like stay up late, watch it. But okay, what did we do last time? We did Empire Strikes Back, Choose Your Own Adventure, Choose Your Own Star Wars Adventure. But how did it end? I'm already forgetting what we did. Oh, we got sent to the spice mines of Kessel. Didn't we? I think that's what happened. Yeah, we tried to... Yeah, that's what happened. Playing with the old pieces. Yeah, I see. I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, I mean, I got them. I own them. I recently bought a new set of them, so... These are the European pieces. So you can see they're slightly different than the other ones. So you got that little base on there. But yeah, I mean, these are customs down here. These are Reaper miniatures, painted. You can see it a little better. It's Archer. Yeah, those guys have taken some damage. And then, of course, we've got our 3D printed mercenaries, courtesy of Board Games Maker. And then whoever uploaded these STLs to Thingiverse or whatever, they're clearly based on the originals. Yeah, so basically we tried to take on Darth Vader a little too early, and we got sent to the spice mines of Kessel. At least we weren't smashed into who knows what. So I say we give Empire Strikes Back another try. I mean, that'll give you a little bit of warm-up for your stream there, Strange Bus, if you want. So, Empire Strikes Back. I know I'm still playing the medieval music, but it's what I do. Alright, let's see where we're at here. Okay, it's cold. Freezing, in fact. You can't believe that a planet as frozen as Hoth exists in your universe. You don't want to go back outside, but you chose this life. You were born and raised far away in the planet Tatooine, a dust bowl, where moisture farming is big business, and where twin suns shine every day. But you and your best friend, Luke Skywalker, always wanted to be fighter pilots, not moisture farmers. You pause for a minute and remember the remarkable events that changed your life so completely. Not so long ago, you and Luke had a chance to taste excitement when you were drawn into the rebellion against the evil Empire. During your adventures, you were joined by the aging Jedi Knight, Ben Kenobi, a young rebel leader named Princess Leia, a roguish intergalactic smuggler named Han Solo, and his first mate, the Wookiee Chewbacca, as well as a pair of droids called R2-D2 and C-3PO. With this mismatched crew, you and Luke helped lead the rebellion to an important victory. Luke himself fired the blast that destroyed the Death Star, the Empire's most fearsome weapon. Strange Bus says, like I did in Super Empire Strikes Back, got till 8, then I got a prep, sir. But I'll play definitely. Oh. So Strange Bus, are you saying you want to play Hero Quest now, or are you talking about just killing time until it's time for your stream? Because I'm just spitballing here as far as what we do. Oh, you'll join in on the book. I see. Okay. Yeah, so we're continuing our choose your own adventures here. Yeah, so this is Empire Strikes Back. So forget what you saw in the movies, because it may not happen that way this time. However, the war against evil is far from over. The Rebel Alliance had to abandon its secret base despite its victory when the Imperial Starfleet followed the Millennium Falcon to Yavin 4. And we're getting a little bit of an ad here for a TV show that I have not watched. Let's just take a moment to admire this great artwork here. That little hologram, cool stuff there. AT-AT attacking, Snowspeeder blowing it up. Is it? It's kind of hard to tell what it's shooting at, actually. Yeah, that's a Snowspeeder. You got the. It reminds me of those VHS covers. Like you had the Stormtrooper, and then you had the Darth Vader helmet for Star Wars, and I think it was it Yoda? Yeah, they called it the Faces trilogy. Anyway, yeah, okay. So Strange Bus is going to join us for the book. So make our choices here. Okay. The Rebel Alliance had to abandon its secret base despite its victory when the Imperial Starfleet followed the Millennium Falcon to Yavin 4 and launched an offensive that the Rebel fleet could not hope to win. You are now a member of Rogue Squadron, a division of X-Wing fighter pilots hidden at a secret base on the ice planet of Hoth. Luke is the squadron leader. Luke and the other Rebel leaders have realized that the Empire will be searching for you all. As part of the setup for Hoth security, sensors must be hidden all around the Rebel base. Along with Luke and Han Solo, you ventured to plant these sensors. You're standing in the hangar bay next to Luke when Han Solo saunters over and interrupts your thoughts. Let's go, folks, he says. It's a little early. We've got a lot of sensors to place today. I'll get the Tauntaun saddled, you say. Great, Han cries sarcastically. We can all work on our suntans. Don't forget the heavy-duty underwear, kids. Brave the cold. Outside the base, the three of you ride Tauntauns, large, leathery-skinned animals well-suited to the cold on Hoth, during the day at least. At night, Hoth's surface isn't fit for any living thing, except perhaps the horrible Wampa ice creatures. You, Luke, and Han split up and spend several hours planting sensors. After a while, you regroup to check on each other's progress. Have either of you picked up any life readings so far? Luke asks. All I'm picking up are saddle sores, you mutter, shifting uncomfortably on top of your Tauntaun. I came across a carcass, looked a couple of days old, Han says. Probably killed by one of those Wampa. They'll go after anything they can find. Listen, we placed all our sensors and I'm cold. I'm going back to the base. You two coming? I saw a meteorite come down not far from here, and I want to check it out first. It won't take long, Luke replies. What about you? Han asks you. I guess I should be like doing the distorted, like comm voices because they're talking to each other on their comms, but anyway. Looks in good condition. Yeah, it is. I hear you may be soon the owner of a classic HeroQuest set yourself. All right. Okay, so we've got our first choice. So Strange Boss, if you're the only one playing in our game book reading here, we can take your choice. Of course, Eudoxio, Jace or J, if you want to vote as well. We had PSK here a moment ago. Okay, option 1, stick with Luke and try to find the meteorite. Option 2, go with Han to the Worm Rebel base. So vote now. Option 1. Okay, that was easy. Anybody else want to vote? We won't wait a really long time. Oh, that's another vote for option 1. I think we're going with Luke. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your participation. All right, if you stick with Luke, try to find the meteorite. But see, that's the thing with the way we play. I mean, if we don't have heroes, then we don't have heroes. We've always got people in the chat, so we make do. I kind of wish they'd released more HeroQuest Choose Your Own Adventure books, but they only had the 3. But, I mean, I've got lots of these style of books. I mean, just tons of them. I'll stay with Luke, you say. No one should have to freeze alone. Well, hurry up, Han says. Looks like a bad storm's coming in. Then Han leaves, trotting across the ice on his Tauntaun. You and Luke ride toward the spot where Luke saw the meteorite fall. It is growing dark, however, and soon you won't be able to see a thing. Hey, Luke, you call as you catch up. It's getting colder by the second. Don't you think we ought to go back? Your Tauntaun starts to stamp its feet nervously. I guess you're right. We won't be able to see each other if it gets any darker, Luke says. Let's go. Then his Tauntaun starts to act up, too. All right, baby, Luke chides. We're going home now. Calm down. What's gotten into you? Smell something? There's a sudden roar behind you. You turn as the Wampa ice beast slams a huge hand into you, knocking you from your Tauntaun. The last thing you see is the beast slashing Luke's Tauntaun with its claws, then lifting Luke from the snow. Uh-oh. I got a bad feeling about this. When you come to, both you and Luke are hanging upside down inside a huge cave. Oh, wow. Just turn this music down a little bit. See, I need some of your epic, what was it, White Wolf or whatever music. It's good stuff. When you come to, both you and Luke are hanging upside down inside a huge cave. Your legs are encased in ice. You can't move them at all. Luke's still unconscious, and there are nasty bruises on his face, where the Wampa struck him. Luke, wake up, you whisper. We've got to get out of here. Luke's eyes flicker open. Quickly, he takes in the situation. We haven't got much time, he says. I'm sure the Wampa had the Tauntauns for dinner, but that means we're dessert. He reaches to his side for his lightsaber, but it's gone. Where? He says, glancing around. There, you shout. There! So you're not whispering anymore. Deep in the cave, you hear the Wampa stir. Great job. The lightsaber is stuck in the snow and ice almost a meter away. Without it, there's no way you can free yourselves from the ice fast enough to escape. So wait a minute, what happened to your lightsaber? Okay, well I guess only Luke has one now. You stretch out and try to reach it, but it's too far away. There's no chance you'll get it. The Force, Luke whispers. Deeper in the cave, but closer than before, the Wampa roars once more. We can use the Force like Ben taught us, Luke insists. Help me, together we can grab it. Can you harness the Force? So he's going to get an assist. Of course, now I guess if you're like noobs, it's just going to go flying off somewhere. Luke, you say, you're so much more skilled with the Force. Just trust in it, he says. The lightsaber's closer to you. So we'll will it to your hands. Cut yourself down, then me. You nod. It's hard to concentrate, but your life and the life of your best friend depend upon you. You reach out with the Force. You can feel Luke doing the same. It is as if your minds are working together. You focus on the lightsaber. It begins to move. A moment later, it flies from the snow with the sound of cracking ice and comes right to your hand. With the flick of a switch, the lightsaber roars to life, but the sound has alerted the Wampa. You can hear a roar and the pounding of feet as it tromps through the cave towards you. With a single slash of the lightsaber, you cut yourself free. Quickly, you spring to your feet and spin to free Luke, but it's too late. The Wampa Ice Beast emerges from the back of the cave. "Run!" Luke shouts. "Get help!" You're tempted to do as he says, but if you run, Luke may die. So option 1, stay and fight. Option 2, run for help. That seems to be kind of a running theme in these. It's like you're always leaving people behind or sticking around and getting your butt kicked. So what do you do? Okay, option time. Vote now. Option 1, stay and fight. Option 2, run for help. Run, you fools, says Eudoxio. He votes for option 2. All right. Anybody else? Oh, Strange Bus votes for 2 as well. Seems like we have a consensus. Anybody else? Looks like we're going to run for help. Sorry, Luke. Well, you're trying to help him, so. I always thought there were 2 Wampas in the cave. That was always my thought. But I guess just the fear of not knowing. Alright. "I'll be back," you cry as you rush from the ice cave. At first, the Wampa runs after you. Then it seems to tire of the chase and returns to its cave. It still has Luke after all, and he's a fresh meal. Your whole body burns with fear and excitement after your narrow escape, but only a minute passes before you start to feel how cold it really is on the surface of Hoth at night. Your mind races. If I can get help in time, Luke may still be saved. You reach for the comlink at your belt. Your fingers are so cold it's hard to grip. You finally press the right button and try to call into the base. "Echo 3 to Echo Base, come in," you pant. It's an emergency. Freezing out here. Luke captured by Wampa, need help." You trudge through the snow, praying that someone at the base will hear you. Get to your location fast enough to save Luke. "Echo 3 to Echo Base," you try again. "Please come in." Hope for help. But it's no use. You're so cold now that your mind is slowing down. It's becoming hard to think. You dimly remember a technician mentioning that ice crystals in the air make surface communications very difficult after dark. It's one of the drawbacks of having the base on Hoth. Still, you refuse to give up. You turn in the direction where you believe the base is, and begin to trudge through the ice. After 24 steps, you fall for the first time. The second time you fall, you don't get back up again. Uh-oh. You lie in the snow, freezing. Your last thoughts form an apology to Luke. In the morning, they'll find your frozen body. Inside the cave, they'll find only Luke's bones. The end. Well, guys, sorry, but that was the end of that adventure. And you're dead. Game over. Well, you still got some time, Strange Bus. I don't know if you said prepping at 8. Oh, Eudoxio. Sorry, man. Well, you guys want to go back and try again? Try something different? That was something we always did back in the day. Keep your finger there. It might be so stay and fight. See, I always thought, yeah, he should have stayed in the cave. I mean, he would have had to kill the Wampa. He could have, like, made a fire or something inside. At least he'd be protected from the elements. I mean, caves are cold, but not as cold as the biting wind. Okay, gotta figure out where we were. Thankfully, the book is smaller, so it's easier to find your place again. Don't have quarters left for the continue. Oh man. I try not to read ahead, but it looks like maybe they came up with some more interesting choices in this book than the other one. Okay, seriously, where were we? Alright, I'm just trying to find where we were. I was going to make a joke about Republic credits, but I won't. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we're going to just time warp, and if you stay and fight, so we're going to try that choice instead. Instead of starting over from the very beginning. No, you shout. I'm not leaving you. The Wampa swings a mighty clawed paw down at you. You spin inside the beast's attack and cut deeply into its arm, drawing blood. It bellows in pain and swipes at you again, but you duck and roll and come up again a few feet from Luke. Pretty good, Luke says as you melt the ice that pins his feet to the cavern roof. He falls to the ground with a grunt. I paid attention to your lessons, you say. With a roar, I paid attention to your lessons, you say. With a roar, the Wampa launches itself across the cave at both of you. But still your weapon, old friend, you say. I think you should hang on to it. You toss the lightsaber through the air. It flips over twice. Luke catches it without even glancing at it. He's watching the Wampa. The ice beast sees you throw the weapon, but is still heading toward you. I think it likes you, Luke says. Either that or it's mad about that little cut I gave it, you say, joking, even though you're terrified. Oh, great. Will the Wampa attack? You're still going to get killed. This isn't good. It's not going to be the NPC in the story. Suddenly, the Wampa throws its weight at you. Luke moves to block the attack, forcing the Wampa to turn and defend itself by swatting him away. Luke dodges under its hand to slash at its legs. The beast roars and reaches for him again. More cautious this time. Luke takes advantage of the Wampa's fear and with one mighty swipe of his blade lops off the Wampa's hand. The fight has obviously been more than the Wampa bargained for. You watch as it runs deep into the cave, roaring in pain and holding on to a stump where its hand used to be. Luke turns off his lightsaber. Thanks, old friend, you say. I do believe you saved my life. You did the same for me, he replies. Now I've got to get out of here in case this thing has a mate. I guess it's time to find out why they call Hoth the Ice Planet. I thought we already knew that, you reply. Moments after you leave the cave, you feel your hands, feet, and face going numb. Your thoughts start to slow down. Are we sure this is the right way, you ask? I'm sure, Luke replies. You're glad to have him along. With his skill in the Force, you're certain that he knows what he's talking about. You move on, doing your best to just keep walking. Luke talks into the comlink on his wrist. Echo 3 to Echo Base, come in, he groans. It's an emergency, freezing out here, need help. Please come in, Echo Base. You trudge through the snow, hoping that someone will hear Luke and get to your location fast enough to save you from freezing to death. Echo 3 to Echo Base, Luke tries again, please come in. They're not going to hear you, you tell Luke. Remember what the text said about the ice crystals and the cold affecting surface communications after dark. We're not going to make it, Luke. Luke stops walking and turns to you. Don't give up, ever, he says. You walk on, but after another few meters, you fall to the snow. Luke tries to help you up, only to fall himself. Lying in the snow, you realize that you're going to die. Then you hear it. In the distance, someone is calling your name. Then Luke's name. Too weak to do more than roll over, you stare at Luke, whose eyes are closed. You worry that he may already be dead. But Han is coming. You can hear his tauntaun's hooves crushing the ice. After a moment, Luke stirs. Dagobah, he says, the words slurred. Dagobah. Ben? Ben? Is Luke hallucinating about Ben? Well, at least he's still alive. Then you hear the snort and gobble of a tauntaun right next to you. Whoa, girl. Here they are, Han shouts. Han, you say? Yeah, it's me, he says. So cold, Luke mumbles, though his eyes are open now. Han, so cold, but I'm getting warmer now. I think I can go to sleep. No, Luke, that means you're freezing. Fight it. Don't go to sleep. Don't give up on me now. I didn't drag you two kids off Tatooine just to see you die here, Han shouts. And you hear him whisper next to your ear. Come on, help me up. Help me here. Try to move your legs. We've got to get all three of us onto this tauntaun. Fight the cold. The tauntaun suddenly falls to the ground with a huge thud. Han swears loudly. You realize that your brain is almost numb, that the Tauntaun is dead. Only one thing to do, Han mumbles. You hear a sound like someone cutting leather. Then you notice the most horrible odor you've ever smelled. Luke is dragged away from his spot next to you, and then Han has you under the arms. He slides you into a slimy, stinky hole. But it's warm. After a moment, you realize that Han has cut open the dead Tauntaun and is using its body heat to keep you and Luke warm while he sets up an emergency shelter. When he finally moves you both into the shelter, you have one last conscious thought, a hope that his quick thinking can keep all three of you from freezing to death. Then you drift off to sleep. Yeah, Strange Bus. See, that's the thing. Like, some of these books would do that to you. Like, no matter what choice you made, you're dead. So, and you're dead. Sometimes those are just the breaks. So yeah, if you just joined us, we are not playing Hero Quest at the moment. We just don't have any heroes tonight. But we do have some heroes in the form of people playing Star Wars Empire Strikes Back Choose Your Own Adventure by Christopher Golden. Alright, you wake in the morning inside the emergency shelter. Your eyes are closed and you can hear the crackle of comlink static. You also hear the sound of snoring. It's Luke right next to you. You sit up thrilled to realize you're all still alive. Han, you say, shaking Han Solo awake. Get up! Han stretches and yawns and suddenly stops in mid-stretch. He glances over at you and then Luke and finally laughs. We made it through the night, he cries. We made it through the night! Just then the static crackle of the comlink cuts off and is replaced by the greatest sound you've ever heard. The voice of your rescue. Echo Base, this is Rogue 2. The voice belongs to Zev, an X-Wing pilot. You realize he must be flying overhead. Rescue's here. Han picks up the comlink and speaks. Rogue 2, this is Solo, he says. Do you copy? This is Rogue 2, Zev replies from his X-Wing high above. I hear you. Do you copy? Got you loud and clear, Zev. Han replies happily. Good morning. Nice of you to drop by. I've got your homing beacon on my screen, Zev says. Be right with you. It'll be warm soon. Yeah, Strange Bus, I can join you for a little bit. But just a little bit. I realize we're getting on. You're going to be heading out here soon. Let's just see what we got. You take the comlink from Han and speak into it. Rogue 2, you say. Make sure there's a med team standing by. Commander Skywalker needs immediate treatment. A short time later, you're all back at the base. Luke is in the med lab, and you and Han, finally warm, walk over to the command center to see Leia. As you enter, you see her huddled over a bank of sensor monitors with General Rieekan and C-3PO. Everyone looks worried. Leia, what is it? Han asks. Something wrong? Sensors just found an unidentified blip, Leia explains. We're trying to pin it down. I don't like the sound of that, you say. We picked up something outside the base in Zone 12, General Rieekan explains. It's definitely metallic, and it's transmitting something. Pardon me, Princess Leia. C-3PO interrupts. I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. This signal is not used by the Alliance. In fact, I think it's highly probable that it is an Imperial code. I'm going to check it out, you say. I'll call in what I find. In the meantime, you should all assume this thing is the enemy. Leia glances at you. You realize that you have spoken out of turn. She's in charge, and you should have waited. You check in with the med lab and make sure Luke is ready to travel, Leia tells you. Han, do you mind checking this thing out? Han laughs. You're just trying to keep me around, Princess, he says. But I'll do it. Strictly self-interest, of course. As long as me and Chewie and the Falcon are stuck here, I want to know what's going on. Take Chewbacca with you, Leia suggests. You got to have somebody to keep you out of trouble. You've got to have somebody to keep you out of trouble. Finally, she turns to Rieekan. General, she says, prepare for an evacuation. If this is a probe, we're going to have to get off this planet fast. All right, so if you got to go, Strange Bus, thanks for joining us. I don't know, I'm kind of getting tired. Maybe it's a good thing we didn't have a full-blown quest here. I did get up early. Usually I sleep in on Saturdays, but I got up early. Okay, earlier than usual. It isn't long before Han and Chewbacca report back to say that they have found and destroyed an Imperial probe droid. Immediately, the evacuation begins. Luke, emerging from the healing fluid of a Bacta tank, senses the fear and activity. "What is it?" he asks. "The Imperials have found us," you tell him. "That's going to change things," he says, sighing. "Rogue Squadron is going to protect the evac ships as they leave the planet, but for now, the majority of our forces are on the ground or in snowspeeders. The Imperials are sure to use walkers," you say. "No question," Luke agrees. "We don't have time to waste. I'm going to take command of the Rogue's flying snowspeeders. If you want to join me, you can. Otherwise, you could help with the evacuation. Make sure Leia gets off the planet safely. Maybe fly one of the X-Wings and guard the transport ships." Oh, Jacer. So that's why you're not playing. Hey, don't worry. No apologies necessary. 2 hours of sleep. I mean, with 4 hours of sleep, I feel miserable. So 6, you can make it. But especially if you've been going a couple days, it's tough, even if you're young. Suddenly in the distance, you hear the sounds of battle. Snowspeeders fire their blasters. Imperial walkers retaliate with thundering explosions. Good luck, rebels, and may the Force be with you. And also with you. Alright. Imperial walkers retaliate with thundering explosions. "They're here," Luke says. He looks at you for a decision. If you go with Luke and fly a snowspeeder, you can buy the rest of the rebellion more time to escape. But if you fly with Rogue Squadron, you will actually be protecting the escaping transports, not to mention Princess Leia. You may have a better chance to survive the evacuation of Hoth yourself. I get little hints in this book that you're like, hey, Princess Leia, know what I'm saying? Like, they don't say it, but... So I guess if you are so inclined. I think, so we've got option 1 and option 2. Go with Luke and fly a snowspeeder against the walkers is option 1. Option 2, help with the evacuation. Last time we helped with the evacuation, but anybody want to vote for a different choice? I'm kind of thinking let's do the Battle of Hoth, let's do the snowspeeder. Well, last time we did the evacuation. So option 1, go fly a snowspeeder against the walkers. Option 2, help with the evacuation. Anybody? Vote now. Jacer says snowspeeder. It's good enough for me. Anybody disagree? Yeah, I think we'll finish up this story and then we'll maybe call it a little early. It's okay with everybody. We'll just have to pick up HeroQuest next time. Yeah. You decide to go with Luke. A short time later, the two of you take off in your snowspeeders alongside the other members of Rogue Squadron not involved in the evacuation of the planet. Yeah, I think Strangebus is actually starting his Star Wars run. Oh, Eudoxio, you voted for the other one. Okay, let me go back. Hold on. Yeah, he's starting at 9, so we've got time. Okay. So it's a tug of war now between the two of you. Battle of Hoth or evacuation? All right, so let's figure this out. If it's a skull, I'll roll one die. If it's a skull, we're doing the Battle of Hoth. If it's anything else, we're doing the evacuation. So, just our standard die here. Skull. So, I tried to be fair. Alright. Sorry, Eudoxio. You'd like our special Star Wars coin or something to do it. Okay, so I guess same decision as I was going to do, but you decide to go with Luke. A short time later, the two of you take off in your snowspeeders alongside the other members of Rogue Squadron not involved in the evacuation of the planet. You head out over the icy surface of Hoth. Yeah, because you're torn between wanting to do what they do in the movies and then wanting to do stuff differently than the movies to see how it turns out in this author's imagination. You head out over the icy surface of Hoth. You are amazed by the Imperial walkers, giant armored gunships with long legs walking across the surface of the planet. Listen, Rogue 5, Luke tells you over the comlink. Before I forget, I'm glad you came along. So am I, Commander, you reply. Now let's get 'em, Luke cries. You pilot your snowspeeders down to attack the walkers. The battle is fierce, and the snowspeeders don't do much more than slow the walkers down. Their armor is too tough for your weapons. Several snowspeeders go down under fire, exploding in the snow. Finally, as the fight grows more desperate, your comlink crackles to life with Luke's voice. "Lieutenant," he announced, "I've got an idea. Deploy harpoons into the walkers' legs, then fly in a circle around them, tightening the cable. When you get it tight enough, release the cable and they'll trip," you cry, realizing that Luke's plan means, "Luke, you're a genius. That's so crazy, it just might work." Oh, classic cliche line. Of course, I was thinking when he's like paying you the compliment, it's like, no, don't do that. In the movies, that's always what they do right before the guy gets killed. It's like, oh man, it's a pleasure serving with you. Yep, sure is good. And like, no. Just don't show him a picture of your family. All right. And work it does. Soon 2 of the walkers have gone down in the snow, mostly undamaged, but still useless until the battle is finished. There are too many of them, and Luke's method of stopping them is too difficult for a real victory, but at least you've slowed them down long enough for the evacuation. You hear a scream. Glancing out the cockpit, you see the back of Luke's snowspeeders burning. You realize that Luke's gunner, Dak, is dead. Dak! Without Dak, Luke is nothing but a moving target. "Luke, you're out of it," you shout over the comlink. "Nothing you can do without a gunner. Get back to base. We'll take it from here." But Luke won't listen. A few moments later, he's hit again. This time, his snowspeeder crashes into the ice and snow of the planet's surface. You fly around him, trying to see what he's doing. When you realize what he has in mind, you think he's crazy. Luke fires a cable under a walker's belly and uses a pulley to haul himself up. With his lightsaber, he slashes open the bottom of the walker and throws in some explosives before dropping to the snow. The walker's legs almost crush him, but he rolls clear. All right, and we're getting an ad. Yep, so those of you joining us, we are reading Choose Your Own Star Wars Adventure, Empire Strikes Back. And I think we're going to close up just a little bit early because Strange Bus is doing his Star Wars stream, and we could go ahead and raid him when we get done here. We didn't play any Hero Quest tonight just because we just didn't have any heroes, to be honest. Not to say there aren't heroes out there, it's just we just couldn't recruit any for tonight. So, all right. Just then the call comes over the comlink for final evacuation. The base is about to fall to Imperial troops. All pilots must now escort the last transports and get their X-Wings off the planet. The walkers move very slowly, and it's easy to fly away from the fight now that the order has been given. But Luke's still on the ground. You fly low over Luke. He waves you on. He's obviously heard the evacuation order on his helmet comlink and plans to walk all the way back. You head back to base, but resolve to wait there for him, no matter what. When he finally walks into base, half frozen but ready to board his X-Wing, you're there waiting for him. "Just you and me, Luke," you say. "Now, where was it we were supposed to go on this errand?" Luke laughs over the comlink as you both fire up your X-Wings. "We're not going to rendezvous with the others, Lieutenant," Luke says. "We're going to a little planet in the Dagobah system to find a Jedi Master named Yoda." "Dagobah?" you say in surprise. "Yoda? What's this all about?" "I had a vision earlier when I was freezing out there on the ice," Luke explains. "Ben Kenobi told me where I had to go to complete my Jedi training. Ben started to train you the same as he did me. I thought it was the only right that you came along." "Thanks, Luke," you say. "Let's get going, before the Empire ruins our chances of meeting this Yoda." Luke laughs again. You leave Hoth, heading across the galaxy together to a small jungle and swamp-covered planet in the Dagobah system. When you reach the planet, you find it covered in a thick layer of clouds. There are no cities or large buildings, but according to your fighter's scanners, there's plenty of life. You and Luke decide to land, but the moment your X-Wings hit the cloud layer, all your instruments go dead. "Luke, what is it?" you cry as your ship begins to shake. "I don't know. Just start your landing program," Luke shouts. Seconds later, both ships crash into a foul-smelling swamp. Even as you climb out on your wing, it begins to sink. Luke barely gets R2-D2 out in time, and your own R2 unit is malfunctioning. Close call. Yeah, maybe what I'll try to do is I'll split the video when we do the VOD for YouTube, just so that you can get all the gamebook reading and then the Hero Quest talk at the beginning separated out. Let's see. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Whoa, that was close. You say, now what? Now we eat something, Luke says. Slowly, you both nibble on what little rations of food you have salvaged. Luke looks around nervously. What is it, Luke? You ask. I don't know, he says. I just feel like... Feel like what, stranger? A tiny scratchy voice comes from behind. What the? You shout. A small wrinkled green alien has appeared suddenly behind you. Its sudden arrival frightens you. You can try to regain your calm or retreat further into the jungle to watch the thing and make sure it isn't hostile. Okay, we got choice time. Option 1, run. Classic. Option 2, stay calm. All right, so what do we do? Anybody? Choice time. Option 1, run. Option 2, stay calm. Got Eudoxio and Jacer there. All right, choose now. Just give you a few more seconds. I mean, I've seen the movie, so... But, you know, it's like, are they going to follow the movie or not? I think we should stay calm. It's a small, wrinkled green alien. Run again, you fools. It's like, hey, you know what? You teach you the value of cowardice. All right, let's say that you run away. And you're promptly eaten by some monster. Luke, get to cover, you shout. There might be more of them. You run off into the jungle, pulling out your lightsaber. You don't turn it on. If the small alien is not alone, you don't want to identify your position. You try to circle around and crawl up a small hill to look for Luke. You're fairly certain that he didn't run after you. To your surprise, you realize you aren't even looking at the same clearing. Somehow, while running, you've lost your way and your sense of direction. The jungle all looks the same. Now you're not sure where you are. Great, you mutter. Just great. Luke! Luke! Your shout echoes through the jungle. From far away, you're not sure what direction. You hear Luke calling your name. You start back down the hill, but your foot catches on a thick vine. You stumble forward and start to roll. Before you can stop, you tumble into a deep gully and fall through vines and branches to the floor 20 feet below. As you get to your feet, you stare up at the high walls of the gully and realize you're going to have to climb out. You begin your climb, but it's growing dark and you can't see the footholds, or the handholds. Soon you realize that you'll have to wait until daylight, or whatever kind of light this planet gets, before trying to climb the treacherous gully walls. You'll have to sleep in the gully for the night. During the night, you're awakened by a soft touch in your face. You open your eyes to see the thick, strong strands of spiderweb close to your face. You try to get up, but something is holding you down. Then you see it, past the webbing, a huge, knobby spider is trying to build its web around you. You may be its next meal. You strain against the webbing, but it doesn't yield. Fortunately, your hand is webbed close to your hip, where your lightsaber hangs. You grab the lightsaber and flick it on, slashing through enough of the webbing so that you can break out. The spider notices that you are free and comes in to attack. You strike her with the lightsaber and kill her instantly. Then you sit awake until morning to make sure nothing else sneaks up on you. Dawn finally comes. At first light, you climb to the top of the gully and try to get your bearings. It's hopeless. You have no idea where you are. You spend several days wandering in the jungle, losing track of time. Eventually, you come upon a small hut. You realize it must be the dwelling of the little alien you and Luke met upon landing. When you look inside, the hut is empty, so you sit and wait. After dark, you see the little alien shuffling across the jungle floor toward you. You jump up, drawing your lightsaber. Stop right there, you shout. Where's my friend? The alien looks up at you with its big eyes. It shakes its head of thin, brittle white hair and sighs heavily.
Sit down,
The alien says.
Gone is young Skywalker. His friends to save from the Empire.
What? You cry. Without me?
Search for you he did.
The creature says. It comes to stand looking up at you.
Told him not to worry, I did. To train you, I would.
Interesting. See, it doesn't say he's acting crazy, so I kind of toned it down a little bit there. Train me? You ask, finally crouching so you can look directly at the small alien. What training can you give me? Can you give me? The little alien sighs again and shrugs.
If not ready you are, then no training can I offer.
It says, wait, you say, a crazy idea forming in your mind. Don't tell me that you're this Yoda that Luke was talking about? The Jedi Master?
Yes,
Yoda says.
Luke was difficult to train. Even more difficult will you be.
So you stay on Dagobah, and Yoda trains you to be a Jedi Knight. Eventually, Luke returns to complete his training, and you work with him and Yoda. You are together when Yoda dies. After this, you return to the Rebel Alliance with Luke. As a Jedi Knight, you make a powerful opponent in the deadly fight against the evil Empire. The end. Huh. Alright, so a different canonical story, but not a bad ending. Alright. Well, guys, that was a fun little excursion through the world of Star Wars from 1998. So this is the collector's edition. So one time only limited collector's edition had the holograms. So I guess there's versions of these books that don't have the holograms. And back then they were charging $4.50 for a paperback for kids. Young adult novel, whatever. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us here on HeroQuest Fans. Sorry we didn't play any HeroQuest today, but I mean, I feel like I got my money's worth as far as time because, I mean, I did the Covert Nerd thing this morning, looked up some news. We talked some HeroQuest about the Rogue Heir of Elethorn, got to kind of unpack that a little bit more, kind of reminisce about the game itself. Usually on Saturdays we do play HeroQuest, but, I mean, if nobody shows up, nobody shows up. I was kind of thinking, though, I mean, reaching out in the chat, usually there's at least a couple people saying, hey, let's play. So why don't we wrap things up, and we're still ahead of schedule here. So yeah, go check out the Strange Bus at 9 o'clock. If you're interested in Star Wars gaming, I mean, he really goes all out with those Star Wars games. So twitch.tv/thestrangebus at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for Star Wars Gaming Marathon. And the thing is, like, we could do another book, but I'm kind of thinking this is fine. This is like a golden opportunity to do that. But yeah, next Thursday, the plan is we're going to do the Rantcast with the Strange Bus on his Twitch. Should be fun because we had to cancel this week's Rantcast. So that's going to be a 9 p.m. thing. And then on Friday, I'll do the usual stream. Maybe we'll do some more game books reading because that's pretty fun. Because I think all the Star Wars news, I'm still thinking Star Wars. All the HeroQuest news for the week is done. So we're probably not going to get any for a while. I mean, until more people get the Rogue, but everybody's seen everything there, so there's nothing more to reveal. It's going to be pretty slow news day until then. But yeah, next Saturday we will play HeroQuest again. Now, in the month of October, I do have a couple of weekends I'm taking off, so I'll have to figure out my vacation schedule. There might be a couple of those weekends we won't do anything HeroQuest-wise, but I'll update the schedule to let you guys know as soon as I know what's going on. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll be recording from another location, perhaps. Maybe get somebody else involved, or we'll just take a little break and we'll catch you next time. So, all right. So Strange Bus is not live yet. Joe Jimbo 370 says, "Have you gotten Frozen Horror yet?" Yeah, I have. You may be wondering because you're seeing the classic edition here, but I do own it. And in fact, the proof is the fact that this is the remake version. See? Because it's the right size and everything. So yeah, I own all of the remake products that have come out thus far. I mean, I've got the Guardian Knights, of course, Frozen Horror game system. Well, I had the Mythic Tier. I have it now. I also have the classic Hero Quest from 1990, the North American version, and the first edition from 1989, believe it or not. I don't have the European second edition like Amalgamash has, but I mean, this is what I could afford. I also have Against the Ogre Horde and Wizards of Morkar. Not in the boxes, but I mean, I have the components. Of course, I've got Return of the Witch Lord and Keller's Keep from the classic, and also from the remake, of course. And I don't have the vintage 92 Frozen Horror or ElfQuest pack. I just have like a couple of pieces from it, and then the rest I printed myself. But I mean, I have it in the sense that I have the remake. I have the PC game. I have the 3 Dave Morris novels. I have 2 copies of one of them because the guy that sold it to me, like, it had paint all over the cover, and I'm like, what gives? And he's like, oh, sorry, here's another copy. So I have 2 copies of that. Got the new stuff. My old 80s game was lost way back. Yeah, it's a bummer, man. Yeah, the 80s game is interesting. There are some differences, and I did a whole video on that, which I encourage you to check out on XSC3, Home of HeroQuest fans. Yeah, Joe Jimbo 370, thanks for joining us. I was actually going to adjourn a little bit early tonight just because we didn't have a lot of heroes join up. So if you're interested in Star Wars, the Strange Bus is doing a stream in about 40 minutes here. Yeah. So Joe Jimbo 370, you're saying you prefer the old artwork to the new artwork? I mean, I'm nostalgic about the old artwork. I mean, in a lot of ways, the new artwork is kind of like riffing on the old stuff. It's kind of copying it. Yeah. I mean, Gary Chalk did the artwork for the classic, HeroQuest Classic, as I call it. So he was an illustrator. Well, he still is. He's alive and well, as far as I know. Joe Deaver was the author of the Lone Wolf books, and he's passed away. But Gary Chalk did the artwork for the Lone Wolf game books, which I have a couple of those. We should read those sometime. And he also did artwork for Warhammer Fantasy. I'm not sure if he did any for Space Crusade or Space Hulk or 40K, but which would have been Rogue Trader back then. But yeah, like the 3rd edition of Warhammer Fantasy, if you go through that book, lots of Gary Chalk artwork in there. So White Dwarf, Games Workshop, all that stuff. And so, like, yeah, his artwork is kind of synonymous in my mind with HeroQuest. And of course, Les Edwards did the painting on the box art, the classic set. So Les Edwards and Gary Chalk are the two guys. Now the modern artwork, I think I think I heard somewhere that the same people who are doing the sculptures and the illustrations for HeroQuest in the remake form are doing the same stuff for HeroScape. And I guess HeroScape is doing their own pledge drive and everything, just like we did with HeroQuest back in 2020. So it's not bad. It's not to the point that I'd say it's bad, you say. Also, the minis aren't that good. Chaos Warriors, the little orb on their head was gold. Yeah, I kind of prefer that. And I see they went out of their way, because I was like, oh, if they just have a horned helmet, I'm just going to put a little ball of like green stuff in the middle and give them, the classic look. But as of now, you'd have to like remodel the whole head, because they have the horns that like point downward, which technically the Chaos Warriors in Warhammer, they have different helmet styles. So there are Chaos Warriors that look like that, but they obviously were trying to go away from the classic look because of their agreement with Games Workshop to change it just enough so it wasn't going to be confused with their property. Dread Warriors. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get in trouble for saying the old stuff. I mean, whenever I play this game, it's always a remix. I mean, this board is the classic board just blown up to a larger size. Let's close off our camera there. But I mean, this furniture is 3D printed. This is classic. This is Reaper miniatures. This is a remake. The figures are classic, so it's all mixed together. But I mean, yeah, I have a couple complete sets. So I think when I play, I just kind of like depending on what mood I'm in, like, okay, do I want to unpack all this stuff? Probably not. So I'll just kind of, pick the ones that I think look the best on camera, or just give us some variety. Like, oh, we used those last time, so we'll do something different. But yeah. Yeah, so you've got the remake. So what do you like about the new version? Joe Jimbo, what are your thoughts on the future of HeroQuest? Do you think it's in good hands, or are you kind of cautious about what they're going to be doing? What do you think of the news of the new expansion? Like the first original retail expansion, other than an actual full expansion, not just a couple heroes in a box, which is what the Rogue Heir of Elathorn is. Like an actual quest book. I guess we don't know what else is in there. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be a full quest book, so probably 10 quests, maybe more. Again, no proof of this. I'm just guessing. Probably get new tiles, new cards, at least one new hero. I mean, I would be shocked if there wasn't a knight in there. But I would imagine that there'd be monsters. Would they be repeats of existing monsters, or would they be just brand new ones? Might be new ones. Now, it could be a sneaky way to give us the mythic tier stuff again, just in another format. Like they could just tweak the poses of some of those characters, like those stretch goals, and give those to us. I wouldn't be against that. And even though I have the mythic tier, I wouldn't mind getting some more of those, honestly. Who wouldn't turn down more miniatures, right? More to paint, more to use in your custom quests. But even if they're brand new monsters, how do you fight ghosts? I mean, can ghosts even hurt you in battle? Do they take physical form? How does that work? Do you need a proton pack to fight them? You need to fight them with magic? How does that work? So there's a lot of unanswered questions. Of course, in the Spirit Queen's Torment, they figured out a way to do it. I mean, I think the ghosts were mostly just, in cutscenes and things. Mostly you were fighting orcs. But there were some orcs that were on your side, or could be on your side if you did the right thing. He says, I think it's in good hands. I love that the doors, chest, and furniture now is full minis, no cardboard. Yeah. Now, at the same time, if you don't paint it, I mean, look at this. Look at the door. It's like all this is colored already, full color for you. You don't have to paint it. Whereas when it's a piece of plastic, it's just solid gray. So you got to paint it, right? Or it just kind of looks kind of bland. So, I don't know. I haven't painted my remake furniture yet. Of course, I painted a lot of these 3D printed stuff. I mean, this probably needs some more work. It's kind of bland with only 2 colors. But, yeah, painted like a weapons rack. Nothing too fancy. It's kind of fun to experiment. I mean, this is Reaper. Just fun giving it a little sample. Yeah, the remake of the ElfQuest pack is going to have new furniture. It's not a complete set of new furniture, but quite a few pieces. I mean, there's treasure chests, doors, well, open and closed doors, your basics, treasure chests, fireplace, bookcase, that kind of stuff. I don't think there's any tables. Could be wrong about that. Or they don't have them done yet. I mean, I'm guessing probably what we saw at Gen Con is what there is. Like, it's done, it's just waiting to be shown. Of course, we don't know the inside of the quest book yet. We don't know if there's been any changes. I mean, I'm kind of just going to assume not. But there might be. They had time to make the changes. Unlike the Frozen Horror, where by the time people were making suggestions, it was already too late. They had to do Into the Northlands to address the complaints. Love that you do this. You deserve a lot more viewers. Oh, thanks. Hey, I appreciate it. Do you want to expand it so the old stuff re-release is probably safe? I'd be more cautious about is the new inventive expansions I've never seen before. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did you sorry, just yeah, tonight was just kind of an off night, I think. Not a lot of people around. I mean, if we were super popular, it wouldn't matter. I mean, it'd be a lot harder. We'd have to get more moderators and stuff to like manage it. But I don't mind a chill stream. But yeah, from stream to stream, you don't necessarily know who's going to be there. I mean, I can go on and talk about stuff, but if we're going to play, it's like, okay, hopefully people show up. Turned out all right. It was still fun. Yeah, I came a bit late. That's okay. I mean, I knew there was a couple people I knew were going to be joining us later anyway. I just wasn't sure if they were going to play or if they were just going to lurk for a while. But I don't mind just saying hi, just checking in with people. Just hanging out. Doing our thing. Because it's called HeroQuest fans. It's not HeroQuest players. I mean, hanging out is part of the fandom too. Yeah, so have you... do you have the Mythic tier, or have you seen it? Prophecy of Telor, Spirit Queen's Torment, Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, because those are all original works. I mean, if you didn't get in on it, of course, there's just those free quests that have been released online, which there's only been a few of them, and they all kind of attach themselves to other things. So the Forsaken Tunnels of Zorzel is supposed to be the bridge between the game system and Keller's Keep. Rogar's Hall was supposed to be like an alternate first quest before the game system begins. So is New Beginnings. Take your pick there. Personally, I think Rogar's Hall is going to be too hard for most people. It's like you're meant to lose. And then Into the Northlands is supposed to be the prelude to the Frozen Horror. We never got those expansions here in Norway. Reside in Norway. Well, hello from the United States. That's why I'm so late. Woke up in the middle of the night. Yeah, well, it's always cool hearing from people in other parts of the country. So I'm curious, though. In Norway, then, what expansions did you get? Was it just the game system, Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord, or did you get Against the Ogre Horde? Did you get Wizards of Morkar? I have to read about them briefly because I don't want to spoil it in case they re-release it. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm most familiar with what's posted on Yield In, HeroQuest by Phoenix.yieldin.com and so forth. But I realize like some of those translations are fan translations. They're not like official versions. And some of that information is probably out of date, and some of it might even be wrong, which is why they're always asking for corrections and updates. And, at various times you get surges of popularity or, nobody's around. So you don't necessarily know. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you guys had. Because, I mean, I'm so interested to hear, the regional differences. Plus, it's like that's the HeroQuest you would have grown up with back in the 80s, 89. And it's like, you want to see some of that come back again. Because we can't all get on eBay and spend a whole bunch of money trying to cobble together a set that's halfway decent. Never got the Frozen Horror back in the day. Not even sure which came, but I'm sure people got the expansions up to the Frozen Horror here and there. Yeah, because in North America, we didn't get Ogre Horde or Wizards of Morkar, but we got Elf Quest Pack and the Barbarian Quest Pack instead, which are Mage of the Mirror and Frozen Horror. And honestly, I think the Europeans got a better deal because, yeah, those quest packs are smaller, but just as fodder to create your own stuff, it was fine. Plus, like, those packs were hard, just looking at them, because I've only played a little bit of Against the Ogre Horde, using North American rules. It's pretty tough, but it's way more forgiving than this. I mean, these quests are long and they're difficult. They're just like knockdown, drag out fights. And the deck is just stacked against you. Absolutely, all the way. So it doesn't matter how well you mastered the previous quest, you're just going to get destroyed. Unless you take drastic measures. I had the main game at the age of 6. Ah, nice. I don't really think about expansions at that age. Yeah, use your imagination to do what you do. Played it carefully, took care of the stuff as a kid, unlike other kids. Yeah, for sure. So I'm really curious now that you're telling me all this stuff. I'm going to go look and see if they have anything. Yeah, you should join the Discord if you haven't already. I feel like I've seen you in there before. Let's see, Norway. Okay. Okay, well, this expansion has never been officially published in Norsk. So Keller's Keep, you didn't get Keller's Keep or Return of the Witch Lord? Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. But you guys at least got the game system, right? Oh, it hasn't even been translated or scanned. Oh, wow. So it's really obscure according to this. I mean, the world of Yield Inn, it's obscure. Quest book English against the Ogre Horde. Yeah, this is all in English. So you might have only gotten the game system back then. Well, if that's the case, or at least Yield Inn doesn't know about it, if that's the case, then it's really a good thing that you guys are getting more stuff. And there's less, I guess, change, so to speak. So there's less for you to go, oh man, it's not my version, it's a different version. Just played with the main game, loved it so much. Yeah. No, it's cool to hear your story. Yeah, so the Norwegian Hero Quest might have just been the game system. But if you had it, I mean, you could certainly share your experience and more information with the people on Yield Inn. Fill out our gaps in our knowledge about it. Don't like the translations. I had the English version as well. Only played English board games. Oh, okay, so you only had the game system and you only played the English version. You didn't like translations. Yeah. Well, if you go to Yield Inn, you can find... I mean, yeah, it's not the same. But you can find scans, recreations, English. So I'll just post a little... Again, this is not my work. This is just what's out there. Well, I appreciate you joining and sharing your perspective, of course. Just putting things away here. Yeah, I think the most interesting version, other than the original, which originally I didn't think the 89 version would have any appeal to me, but when I saw how different it was, like, I just had a lot of fun just like picking apart the differences. And some of the build qualities are better, and some of them are not as good. Like, I can see there's improvements over time, both in the second edition and in the North American edition, but some things were left out, like the equipment cards. Instead of the equipment cards, you got the armory. The armory's cool, but so are the equipment cards. And so in the remake, we got cards again instead of the armory board, a table with all the weapons and armor. And we got some things like the hand axe, the holy water, potion of speed. Of course, the holy water and the potion of speed were originally treasure cards, and then they were made into equipment, which I thought was a little dodgy, but at least they're back. And then the hand axe the wizard's not supposed to be able to use it, but they forgot to put that text on there, and so it's like, okay, I guess the wizard can use it now. He gets an extra weapon. I mean, it's not any stronger than the wizard staff artifact, but I mean, it could be thrown, or so you lose it when you throw it. It's like, why would you throw away such an expensive weapon? But you can if you want to. So Jojimbo says, I learned English, had English and American friends in my childhood. We were part of the same programs, including people, families. From other countries who moved to Norway or various reasons wanted to hang out. My nanny was British as well. Oh, cool. Yeah, so you're fluent. Well, that makes it easy. So when you play the game, you just play it in English. You don't have to worry about stuff being lost in translation. What I thought was interesting is the localizations. Like, the Japanese version of the game is completely different. Like, it's a completely different. The mechanics are different everywhere, and I think it's cool because it's like they made their own game using the HeroQuest assets, and yet it's somewhat tied to the HeroQuest world. You could imagine that Zargon's forces are in that part of the world are operating under a different name. You know, the locals call them Dark Warriors and Mono Lizards instead of Fimmers and Chaos Warriors. But orcs are still orcs, you know. So. But I mean, you're fighting against the evil god character that Zargon, as he's known in that land as Grimdead, is trying to revive. It's kind of an interesting little plot. And it's the Emperor of Neef Island. They don't say Japan. But Neef, like Nippon, Nihon, Japan. It's in a different corner of the world, so it could have sailed over there to have adventures. And I think the Brazilian version, it's more stylistic. Like, the miniatures are made out of paper, cardboard. So it's like, oh man, they only got cardboard miniatures. But if that's what you grew up with, you'd be kind of nostalgic for those figures. Now, nowadays, you'd probably be online looking for plastic to replace it. And I think the armory was different. And some of the wording was different. So, like, the Italian version, famously, instead of Sir Ragnar, it's Sir Manfred. Of course, in the British version, it's the UK, the European edition, it's the Stone Hunter is the name of the quest, and it's Carlin is the Emperor's Wizard. Whereas in the North American version, it's the Lost Wizard, and his name is Wardaz. So, little differences like that. Again, it kind of gives it that flavor. And so, I don't know, I have mixed feelings on it. One is like, I kind of wish people would get the HeroQuest that they grew up with. But on the other hand, it's kind of like bringing everybody together to say, okay, we've got one standard version now that everybody gets. And logistically, it's probably easier for them to just translate it. Just do like a little word substitutions. But I guess some of the translations leave something to be desired. Like, I guess they made a lot of mistakes in the German version. The Italian version, they made a mistake, which I thought was kind of cool, which is like they called them Chaos Warriors. But then they had to actually like recall the product and like open it up and like change it to Dread Warrior, because that was the agreement with Games Workshop. But I thought, you know, maybe if it was me, I'd be like, yeah, I like it. I'm just not going to send it. I'm just going to keep it. I was devastated when I learned my mom had given away HeroQuest as a teenager. Been looking for it to reappear on the market so I can guess my joy at knowing they was going to remake it. Yeah, that's the thing. Because, I mean, let's be real. Do you save every single thing from your life? Most people don't. And it's like, why would you? But then you decide later on, like, I want to play it again. It's like, now what do I do? You can print and play. You could try to find it. eBay, Mercari. I think if you hang around enough, and especially if you're using eBay, like, just go to other countries. Like, you might not find it in Norway, but you might find it somewhere else. Go to Board Game Geek. That's what I did. Board Game Geek. find somebody in the geek market who's a fan who wants to give it to a good home, and they'll probably offer you a good deal. Just ask them to show you more, show you some up close pictures so you can get a realistic idea of the condition. You may have to glue some stuff together, you may have to reprint a couple things, but you could probably get yourself a complete set for a reasonable price. I mean, even after all the pandemic and inflation, I mean, things aren't that bad as far as prices go. Already there. The Spanish troll. Oh, yeah, Eudoxio. I forgot all about that. Yeah, so instead of the elf, he's called a troll. Nice. Yeah, well, so I found a really good seller. He sold me Space Crusade for a really awesome price, and one of the expansions, the better expansion in my opinion, the elf one, the Eldar Attack. And then he turned around and sold me later, and I tried to talk him out of it because I'm like, no way, man, you can make so much more money if you just, sell it to somebody else. But he wanted to sell it to me, and I'm like, hey, this is awesome. So yeah, I got Against the Ogre Horde and Wizards of Morkar. Now I kind of didn't want the 89 version, and he's just like, yeah, but it's all in one package. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Thinking to myself, yeah, I'll just give it away to somebody. But when I got it, I was like, actually, this is kind of cool. I wasn't just going to make a video and then get rid of it. But yeah, so I got the 89 version. Seeing, all the changes that have happened in the main HeroQuest line from that version to the one that I have and then to the remake. Yeah, it sure does. I mean, not everything in life is competition and coming out ahead and sadly ripping people off. Sometimes people are just like, yeah, that's what I want to sell it for, and I know you're getting a good deal, and I'm just getting satisfaction that my old game is going to somebody who's going to appreciate it. Because yeah, for all you know, you sell your old stuff and then somebody else just sells it again for double the price to some chump who has no clue, or it's just going to sit on their shelf and never get played. And I sent him the videos. I was like, listen, I'm actually going to play this. We're actually going to use it on the stream, so thank you. He didn't want his name shared. I can understand that. But it's like, man, if I remember looking for stuff on Board Game Geek, I'm definitely going to go back to him. See, he's created, a reputation as a stand-up guy and a good seller. So I love it when people go the extra mile like that. We're all just being human. We're not just trying to manipulate each other, which unfortunately there's so much of that in this world. I mean, you can understand. It's like, okay, you have a business relationship. It's just, I'm not trying to be your best friend. I'm just trying to, buy a product. But you can just kind of break through that and make a friend, or at least, have a nice interaction with somebody. It's cool. So yeah, that's definitely part of the world of HeroQuest fans that I appreciate. That community, that sense of community. So anybody that tries to tell you that we're toxic fans, don't listen to them. Not true. It's not true, this community. I mean, I'm sure you'll get bad people in anyone. Take any group with millions of people in it, and you're going to have bad people. Like, you're going to have scumbags in there. But as a whole, as our fandom goes, I mean, I've seen a lot of, like, generosity, creativity, camaraderie. And all we have in common is the game. That's it. Like, there's people from all countries, races, religions, political backgrounds. Don't see eye to eye on anything, but we agree on the game. And even then, we fight about the game, but at the end of the day, we just decide, hey, look, you play the game your way, I play it mine. We both like the game. We have that in common. We can come together, share ideas, bounce off ideas. I think that's really fun. And you could probably get that with anything, like any fandom, but out of all the fandoms that are out there, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of that in a lot of fandoms. So I think it's a rare thing, and it's something we need to hold on to. So anyway, well, yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts and kind of getting me thinking. So at about 10 minutes, we're going to... Oh, Strange Bus is live. Okay. So everybody who's still hearing my voice in the chat here, now if you're on YouTube, forget it because it's not live, but thank you for listening. and supporting us anyway. Yeah, go check out our Discord for HeroQuest fans. Join us next week. We'll be doing something next Thursday, doing the Strange Bus's Rantcast, and I'll be there because I like to do the show. He and I have been doing the show for a while. I mean, I haven't been there for a couple of shows, and he's had other guests on there. But eventually we'd like to kind of branch off and have that be its own thing, maybe be like a regular call-in show. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. Just have to find the time and energy to keep it going. Yeah. Well, it should. It should. Let me send you the actual invite link, because I think Strange Bus wants me to join him. So I'm going to go over there in a minute, and we're going to raid him. So we're going to raid his channel. So let me get the link here. We're going to raid the Strange Bus. Okay, so I'll stop the stream now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support. Rate, comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow, sub if you want to. And we're going to raid the Strange Bus. All right, thanks. Stick around for a second here. Follow the on-screen prompts.